I have been married to Xiao Yanheng for 10 years. Over these 10 years, I have watched as lively and innocent young women entered the palace in groups, only to see them bloom briefly before fading into cold silence. I merely watched with a cold eye, closing my doors and living as the consort. If I could, I would rather have never married into the royal family. My name is Jiyu Suaning. My father is the Minister of Rights, and I am a daughter born of a concubine. I have an elder brother and an elder sister from the principal wife above me, and a younger brother from a concubine below me. My father and the principal wife were deeply devoted to each other, but they couldn't withstand my grandmother's authority, so he had no choice but to take my mother as a concubine, which led to the birth of me and my younger brother. In theory, I should be grateful to my grandmother, for without her, I wouldn't have been born into this world. After my younger brother and I were born, my father probably felt he had fulfilled his duty and devoted himself wholeheartedly to the principal wife. I rarely saw my father. When I was little, leaning against the garden gate was my happiest pastime, because my father would often pass by holding my elder brother and sister's hands. Whenever he saw me, he would stop with a warm smile and say, "Sway Sway is here to see the flowers again." Then he would give me a piece of horsehoof cake that he had specially bought for my sister. Those were my happiest moments. Later, mother passed away, and I never went to the garden again. Mother had been deeply melancholic all along. One night, she suddenly took my hand and told me to take good care of my younger brother in the future, and then she breathed her last in my arms. I was naturally terrified. I wanted to find father. But the legal wife was a light sleeper and could hardly fall asleep at night, so father must have been with her. I clearly remember a servant who got drunk one night and made a loud noise, waking the legal wife. The look father gave him was so chilling that I didn't want to be beaten. I held mother like that all night, watching helplessly as her body slowly grew cold. Later, when daybreak came, the nanny who came in to serve was horrified and hurriedly reported it to father. Father hurried in. And at that time I was both sleepy and hungry, only remembering a broad, warm embrace that lifted me up. Unfortunately, he never once glanced at mother. Later, when I woke up again, mother had already been buried, and my little brother was huddled alone in the corner. "Sis, mom is gone. We have no family left now." Seeing that I was awake, my brother quickly scrambled onto the bed and snuggled into my arms. His eyes were red, clearly showing traces of recent tears. "No. Linga still has her father," I whispered softly to comfort her. "That's not my father. They are the real family. I only have you, sister." The little one spoke with indignant words. I paused, and in the end, did not argue further. Even a child can see the truth. How long must we keep deceiving ourselves? Although mother has passed away, the household has never neglected Lingen and me. I, along with my elder sister Jiyu Nyaning, learned needlework from the nanny, while Lingen attended school. He writes to me once a month, always sending along some small trinkets with his letters. After reading them, I carefully store these items in a wooden box. After all, Lingen is the only one in this household I truly care about. If things had continued like this, life would have been manageable. But then the imperial court suddenly issued an edict, appointing Jiyu Nyaning as the crown princess. Jiyu Nyaning had been doted on by her father and stepmother since childhood. Unlike me, who had to be humble and cautious in every way, she was the son of the capital, proud and dazzling. Her father was a minister, her uncle a general, making her the undisputed noble lady of the capital. At that time, Xiao Yanheng was still the crown prince. Along with my elder sister and Shinjusi, they formed the capital's famous trio, eliminating the wicked and upholding justice, with a chivalrous and righteous spirit. In reality, it was always my elder sister and Shinjusi who clamored about ridding the world of evil, while Xiao Yanheng quietly cleaned up the mess they left behind. I suppose I knew back then that the crown prince had feelings for my elder sister. Otherwise, why would a prince, a gentleman of such refined elegance, follow a seemingly wild and eccentric young girl around every day? But this wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Given my sister's status, marrying the crown prince was a suitable match. Besides, genuine affection is rare in the imperial family, and since the crown prince adored her so much, she would surely find happiness in their marriage. Every time at banquets, when noble ladies in the capital expressed envy for my sister, I would always just smile and let it pass. Better to marry a man who loves you than to covet power and wealth. I have always remembered the words my mother warned me with before she took her last breath. "Sway Sway, when you marry in the future, you must marry someone who truly likes you." I don't envy my elder sister for gaining the crown prince's favor. Having Shinjusi is enough for me. Speaking of which, I should actually call Shinjusi my cousin. He is the son of my elder sister's maternal uncle. making him Jiyu Nyanning's first cousin. Like Jiyu Nyanning, he is a dazzling sun in the capital, carefree and radiant, riding through the streets on horseback, the dream man of countless young ladies in their spring chambers. I remember it was early summer, I was sitting under a tree, fanning myself to keep cool, when a strange young man suddenly walked through the courtyard gate, youthful and unrestrained, bold and bright. I suppose he was looking for my elder sister, so I replied impatiently, "If you're looking for my sister, her courtyard gate should be near the garden." The young man's ears flushed red, and he stammered for a long time without saying a word. I shook my head and got up to return to my room. Not noticing when he left, the second time we met was at a banquet in the general's mansion, where I accompanied my elder sister to attend. He spotted me in the crowd and strode over, saying, "Hey, I'm Shinjusi, not some young master, cousin Suaining, you should call me cousin." His eyes were bright, tinged with a hint of anticipation. I found it somewhat amusing and casually called him cousin. He grinned so widely that the corners of his mouth nearly reached his ears. After that, I often ran into him in various places, and he would always greet me with a smile, calling me Sui Ning, little sister. Later, he started visiting the Shun residence under the pretext of looking for my elder sister. Each time he came, he brought me things that girls would find interesting: horsehoof cakes from the east of the city, rouge from the north. Most often, he brought pig's trotters from the west of the city. At first, I always found them too greasy and refused to eat, but he would devour them with gusto. Later, he secretly took me out horseback riding, letting the breeze brush against our faces as the horses' hooves joyfully trotted along. I never knew life could be so carefree and exhilarating. Following the principle of returning a favor, I embroidered a pouch for him. Apart from Lingen, this was the first time I had ever embroidered a pouch for another man. He happily hung the pouch on himself. Praising the big goose I embroidered as very pretty, I got annoyed and made a move to snatch the pouch back. What a fool! They were clearly mandarin ducks, not big geese at all. Seeing me blush, he hurriedly pulled out a pair of jade pendants from his sleeve, his eyes shining brightly as he looked at me. "Suaining, after the new year, may I ask your uncle for your hand in marriage?" I looked down at my toes and softly replied, "Yes." He suddenly leaned in and gently kissed me on the cheek. My mind exploded with a roar. I pushed him away and ran back into the house, not forgetting to take that jade pendant with me before leaving. At night, I kept looking at that jade pendant, feeling so sweet and happy inside. He said that although Suaining looks similar to Nyanning, their temperaments are always different. Suaining appears delicate and fragile, which always makes him feel protective, while Nyanning is a good buddy, and he can tell them apart. This is indeed true. Both my sister and I take after our father in appearance, so much so that we look like twins when standing together. However, while my father and I both have almond-shaped eyes, my sister inherited our mother's phoenix eyes. He also said that a gentleman has 9 thoughts, and all 9 thoughts are for Suaining. Shinjusi is destined to be Jiyu Suaining's. Gradually, he drew me into the trio of the capital. Often, he and my sister would laugh and play up ahead, while I and the crown prince followed slowly behind. My gaze rested on Shinjusi, while the crown prince's eyes held only my sister. Occasionally, I exchanged a few words with the crown prince, then watched as Juicy turned around with a smile and waved to me. The crown prince is truly a gentleman, as gentle as the spring breeze, and he is quite considerate. Perhaps afraid that I might feel awkward, whenever we walked together, he would ask me in a serious tone what I had for breakfast and lunch. After I answered each question, a brief awkward silence would follow. After struggling for a while, he would finally blurt out, "That dress looks nice on you." Of course it's nice, it was a gift from Juicy. Those were the days I would reminisce about most fondly in the years to come, often in the stillness of midnight dreams. Just as I was counting the days, eagerly awaiting the arrival of the new year, an imperial decree arrived at the palace. It proclaimed that the daughter of the Jiyu family, known for her intelligence, elegance, and grace, was deemed suitable to become the crown princess. Although these beautiful words were not particularly flattering to my sister, she and the crown prince had finally achieved a happy union. I thought it would soon be my turn with Juicy. I congratulated my sister, but she widened her eyes and nearly tore the imperial decree. Later, under father's questioning, my sister stammered and revealed the person she truly loved. After that, father summoned me to his study. "Suaining, there has been a misunderstanding between the crown prince and your sister. She and Juicy have long been fond of each other. This matter is our Jiyu family's fault in disappointing His Majesty. You know your sister's temperament, she would not make a good crown princess. Since childhood, you have been calm and unassuming, which actually makes you a perfect match for the crown prince." I widened my eyes, my mind in complete chaos. If it's a misunderstanding, father can just explain it to His Majesty. His Majesty is not an unreasonable person, Suaning, but the royal family cannot lose face. Everyone in the capital knows that the imperial decree was brought to the Shen family. My elder brother, Jiyu Huarian, looked pained. If my sister isn't suitable to be the crown princess, why did father tacitly allow her to get close to the crown prince? This was all caused by her actions, and besides, the crown prince likes her. I mustered rare courage, staring straight at my father. Nonsense. If your sister truly liked the crown prince, no matter how unstable her temperament, the Jiyu family could still protect and support her. But now, your sister doesn't like the crown prince at all. If she enters the palace unwillingly, who knows what foolish things she might do? I slowly collapsed to the ground, a chill spreading through my heart. In the end, it was just that my sister didn't want to marry. Father, who doted on her, naturally found me to take her place. Seeing my despondent state, father seemed to soften. Sui Ning, given your status, marrying into the Eastern Palace as the crown princess is already a stroke of great fortune. Your sister has someone she loves, but you don't. Even if I arranged a match for you, it would never be as prestigious as being the crown princess. I'm doing this for your own good, but my sister has someone she loves. Jiyu Nyaning caused trouble. And you're making my sister take the blame. How could you do such a thing? The study door was suddenly kicked open, and Lingen stood at the threshold, his eyes bloodshot. The academy was on break, and he had secretly returned, hoping to surprise me. Unfortunately, he had overheard this conversation by chance. Yes, I have always been close with Lingen, so naturally, I didn't hide from him that I had someone in my heart. But now, I'm just glad I never told him who that person was. How dare you? A few days at school and you already dare to defy your elders. These past few days, a pile of troubles at home had been weighing on father's mind, and Lingen's provocation became the outlet for his pent-up frustration. Bring the family discipline rod. Today, I will properly punish this unfilial son. Father ordered my elder brother, his face dark with anger. Father, Lingen is still young. The eldest brother couldn't bear it and pleaded softly with their father. Father snorted coldly, snatched the duster from the table, and swung it at Lingen. The duster cut through the air with a sharp sound, leaving streaks of blood that soaked through his clothes. Lingen remained silent, only glaring fiercely at their father, his eyes burning with hatred. Stop hitting him. I rushed toward Lingen. Father couldn't pull back in time, and a bloody streak slashed across my back. I grunted in pain, then stood up with Lingen, supporting each other. Facing the stunned gazes of my father and brother, I said coldly, if you dare lay a finger on Lingen again, I'll jump into the river right now. If I die, let's see how Jiyu Nyaning marries her beloved, perhaps because he had never seen me like this. My father opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing. How pitiful it is. I threatened him with my life, not because my life is precious, but because I could marry the crown prince in place of his legitimate daughter. How much he loves his daughter. Even the status of being the future emperor's father-in-law cannot compare to Jiyu Nyaning's happiness. But I am also his daughter. That winter, I never did receive Shinjuse's marriage proposal. It said that General Shin gave him a severe beating, leaving him bedridden for a full month. Once he recovered, he went off to join the army in the north, saying that a man should achieve something in his career before settling down. Later, Jiyu Nyaning chased after Shinjuse to the northern frontier. My stepmother and father, unable to rest easy, resigned from their posts and moved to the northern frontier as well. By the time the news of my sister's marriage to Shinjuse reached the capital, I had just lost my first child. When my sister-in-law cautiously brought it up to me, I stared for a long time at the embroidered 100 children pattern on the bed curtain, and finally, with a slow smile, I wished them a happy union for 100 years. How could I bear to let the young man I love live an unhappy life? As long as he is well, I can rest easy in the palace. As soon as my sister-in-law left, I turned around and spat out a mouthful of blood. I truly wish him happiness, but after all, he is the young man I've longed for since my youth. How could I not be heartbroken? The crown prince, mindful of our past affection, never treated me too harshly, yet forcing two unwilling hearts together is especially cruel. I seldom sought him out, quietly fulfilling my duties. He only stayed in my chamber on the 1st and 15th of each month. Later, as the emperor's health declined, he gradually took several concubines into the Eastern Palace. Among them, Chen Luoluo pleased him the most. As the legitimate daughter of General Chen, she was willful and spoiled. I suppose the crown prince saw traces of his elder sister in her. Besides her, there was also the calm and quiet consort Wang, and the innocent, lively talented Lady Liu. The Eastern Palace grew increasingly lively. I watched these charming women quarrel endlessly over Xiao Yanheng. Later, I was diagnosed with pregnancy, the first joyous event in the Eastern Palace. The Crown Prince rarely visited my palace. But as a first-time father, he gradually began to come more often clutching little trinkets for children. He said, "Sway sway, whether it's a boy or a girl, this child will be the apple of my eye." In a daze, I thought to myself, perhaps living like this wouldn't be so bad after all. Later on, I had a miscarriage. The Crown Prince ordered someone to put away the children's clothes I had embroidered and the toys he had bought. He comforted me, saying we would have more children in the future. His embrace was so warm and strong, yet my heart gradually sank. I could only nod and say yes. As the Crown Princess, I had no support from my maternal family. What else could I say but yes? I couldn't even avenge my unborn child. During the days I spent recuperating behind closed doors, consort Wang Ru would visit from time to time. At first, she brought nourishing tonics, then later, embroidered gifts. After some time, we were even able to shut the door and share heartfelt conversations. A few years later, a new group of women entered the Eastern Palace. The newcomers and the old ones stirred up all sorts of underhanded schemes in their fight for favor. Yet Chen Luoluo remained unmoved, holding a position of unusual influence by the Crown Prince's side. Wang Ru teased me, saying that while favored consorts come and go, Chen Luoluo remains as constant as iron. At that moment, both of us were enthusiastically gnawing on a pig's trotter. It seems that, barring any surprises, we'll be spending our old age together in the palace. Wang Ru mumbled with a big piece of meat in her mouth. Wrong, it's gnawing on pig's trotters together. Who would have thought that two great beauties would share this particular taste? Unfortunately, just a few days after saying this, Wang Ru somehow offended the pregnant Chen Luoluo and was punished by her to kneel in the snow for 3 hours. By the time I got the news and went to rescue her, she had already frozen into unconsciousness. Later, after the imperial physicians worked hard to treat her, she only held on until early spring. Before passing away, she smiled carefreely and said, "Jiyu Suaning, I'm going ahead of you. I've finally been waiting for this day. I should go underground to find my little husband now." Because Chen Luoluo was pregnant, the Empress ultimately dealt with her leniently, confining her to her quarters for 3 months. Unfortunately, she did not manage to keep this pregnancy either, come to think of it. The Chen family, like the Shun family, holds command over 200,000 troops. How could the Crown Prince's first child possibly come from the Chen family? But none of this has anything to do with me anymore. After Wang Ru left, my already weakened health took another turn for the worse. So I simply shut my doors to enjoy some peace and quiet. After all, everyone knows the Crown Princess in the Eastern Palace has no real authority. It's just a pity that no one is left to fight me over the braised pork trotters anymore. In the 4th year of my marriage to Xiao Yanheng, he ascended the throne and became emperor. He made Chen Luoluo his noble consort, while I was demoted from wife to concubine and granted the title of consort Ru. No one in the court dared to speak up for me. With no maternal relatives in the court, who would risk earning the emperor's displeasure for my sake, I accepted the decree without a fuss. Quietly moved into the Fuan Palace, locked the gates, and focused on enjoying my pig trotters. Pig trotters are so delicious, it's my favorite indulgence. Being empress, I couldn't care less. Truth be told, I had long expected this. In his heart, the position of empress was reserved for Jiyu Nyaning. Lady Roof, as all the ladies have now entered the palace, this servant has prepared the arrangements for their accommodations. However, the noble consort is suffering from a migraine. So I had no choice but to disturb your ladyship's peace. I humbly request your ladyship's review. My personal maid, Qinghe, led the chief eunuch of the imperial household department inside. After hearing his explanation, I opened the register and examined it carefully. Wang Yuan, the second daughter of the Vice Minister of Personnel, I asked slowly. Indeed, her sister was the late consort Wang. I nodded, circled a few places for him to revise slightly, and then dismissed him. Time flies so fast. Back when Wang Ru mentioned her to me, she was just a 7-year-old child, and now she's already of age to enter the palace. 10 years, it's just the blink of an eye. I mentioned it to Qinghe. And she casually remarked, "Yes, in the blink of an eye. I've been serving you for 5 years." I was taken aback for a moment. Indeed, time flies. Jiyu Nyaning has already been gone for 5 years. In the end, she never became Xiao Yanheng's empress. She died, perishing in the northern borderlands alongside Shinjusi. The northern Di tribe took advantage of Xiao Yanheng's recent ascension to the throne and sent a large army to attack the northern border. Shenjusi died in that war. Jiyu Nyaning wrote a letter to me, then cleanly and decisively took her own life for love. It was the first time we had been in contact since I married, and also the last. She said she was sorry, that in the next life she would serve me as an ox or a horse to atone. She also said Shenjusi had called out my name as he passed away. Enclosed with the letter was a pouch, stained with blood, its original appearance no longer recognizable, though faintly visible was what seemed to be a pair of geese. I stared at the pouch for a long time, then suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Qinghe was terrified and hurriedly called for the imperial physician. When I woke again, the first thing I saw was Xiao Yanheng sitting by the bed. Without a second thought, I slapped him across the face. The palace servants fell to their knees with a thud. Pleading for forgiveness, Xiao Yanheng took my slap without flinching. He didn't move, nor did he show anger. He just stared at me for a long moment. Sway. I have my own unavoidable reasons. I took this slap as your husband, but only this once. There won't be a next time. I suddenly laughed out loud. Xiao Yanheng, you really have some nerve. 2 lives are only worth 1 slap from you. Weren't you fond of Jiyu Nyaning? With all your power, how did you let her die? Indeed, the royal family is heartless. I had thought Xiao Yanheng would spare Shenjusi's life for the sake of their past affection. Little did I expect that he would use the northern border territories as bait to take his life, all for the sake of Shen family's 200,000 troop military tally. Consort are you, mind your words. Struck a nerve, Xiao Yanheng left with a darkened face. Xiao Yanheng and I began a month-long cold war, though it could hardly be called that. We had never been on good terms to begin with. Later, when my elder brother had his second son, Wayu, I brought a plate of pastries to make peace with Xiao Yanheng. I smiled until my face went numb before His Majesty finally deigned to eat 1 pastry. After he had stuffed that plate of pastries into his stomach, I forced a smile and asked Your Majesty how it tasted. He glanced at me twice but didn't respond, so I had to stand there awkwardly waiting for His Majesty to cool off. Later, as I awkwardly prepared to leave, he finally spoke up. I've heard that Consort Ru is quite skilled at needlework. Embroider a sachet for me. After a pause, he added. Use a pair of geese as the pattern. We just made up so inexplicably. These are all things of the past. Why dwell on them? I shook my head and decided to take a stroll in the imperial garden to clear my mind. What delicacy has Sister Wang made today? Pig's trotters, or offal? Haha, Sister Wang Yuan, why are you so interested in these things every day? Could it be that in your past life, you were in cahoots with these creatures? You, don't push people too far. What's all this noise about? Even my leisure time was disturbed, and I couldn't help but sigh, eventually stepping forward to stop the dispute. After all, maintaining peace in the inner palace is everyone's responsibility. I would never admit that I have a taste for this kind of thing too. We pay our respects to Your Highness. What was all that noise just now? His Majesty has a quiet disposition and has never liked troublemakers. If there's nothing else, all of you sisters should return to your respective palaces. After saying a few words that were half serious and half joking, she indeed managed to intimidate these newly entered palace ladies, and they all took their leave one after another. Truth be told, I really don't know what kind of person His Majesty likes. Perhaps it really is someone lively, like Jiyu Nyaning. Since all of you sisters have entered the palace, remember your status, serve His Majesty well, abide by the palace rules, and strive to bear offspring for the royal family as soon as possible. Chen Luoluo sat at the head, speaking formalities, seeing the dark circles under her eyes. It must have been hard for her to get up early to receive the morning greetings from the harem despite her migraine not having fully recovered. Lady Liao, you were the first to receive favor yesterday. You must uphold the virtues of womanhood and set a good example for the other sisters. Your servant obeys the decree. Under the envious gazes of everyone in the palace, Lady Liao responded with a bashful tone. I continued drinking my tea quietly. Once I had my fill, Chen Luoluo waved her hand to dismiss the morning greetings. Your Highness, wait, I was just 1 step away from returning to my Fuan palace. But unfortunately, someone stopped me at the entrance. Sister, is there something you need? I wore a proper smile on my face, though my mind had long wandered off. This morning, I had instructed the kitchen to stew a large pork knuckle, simmering it slowly over a low flame. By my calculations, it should be just about ready now. Your Highness, I am Wang Yuan from Luoxia Palace. I came to thank you for helping me out of that predicament yesterday. I don't have anything of value, but I'm quite skilled in the kitchen, so I thought I'd make a braised pork trotter to offer to you. Before I could refuse, she shoved the pot into Qinghe's arms and dashed off like the wind. Qinghe blinked a few times, then then slowly turned her gaze to me. Forget it, take it back to eat, after all, it can't be thrown away, that would be such a waste of food. But I have to say, Wang Yuan doesn't seem very reliable, but she makes a pretty good braised pig's trotter. With the trotter, I devoured 3 bowls of rice. As for the pork knuckle from the small kitchen, it'll have to wait until evening to be enjoyed. At night, Qinghe deftly placed the pork knuckle on the dining table. Looking at it, I couldn't help but think of the pig's trotter from noon and sighed, as expected of Wang Ru's sister. Both have a taste for this. Qinghe smiled. By the time she came to my side, I was already consort Yu, so she wasn't aware of these past matters. But she probably understood that I was thinking of someone from the old days. Just as I picked up my chopsticks and was about to reach for the braised pork knuckle, a sharp, high-pitched announcement suddenly came from outside. His Majesty has arrived. Reluctantly, I set down my chopsticks and rose to greet Xiao Yanheng. It wasn't the 1st or 15th of the month. What was he doing here? My timing seems perfect. Consort Yu's evening meal looks quite lavish. Xiao Yanheng remarked lightly, casting a casual glance at my increasingly plump waistline before uttering these words with little emotion. Very well, I haven't eaten yet either. I'll dine with Consort Yu here tonight. Before I could refuse, Qinghe had already cheerfully set out the bowls and chopsticks, and Xiao Yanheng naturally took the seat of honor. The words to send him away stuck in my throat, and with a sigh, I sat down opposite him and began to eat. I heard from the noble consort that you won't be attending tomorrow's banquet. I swallowed the pork knuckle in my mouth and replied calmly, this humble one is unwell and not fit to go out. Xiao Yanheng looked suspiciously at my rosy cheeks. If that's the case, Consort Yu should rest well. Tomorrow, we'll remove the pork knuckles and trotters from Fuan Palace. Eating more vegetables is better for recovery. I suddenly feel like my illness has passed. I can attend the banquet tomorrow. Before his chief eunuch Geoda could reply, I quickly changed my mind. That's good then. Seeing my frustration, Xiao Yanheng cheerfully reached his chopsticks toward the last piece of meat. I sat nearby, watching him coldly. He suddenly paused, awkwardly putting down his chopsticks. I'm full. This pork knuckle is truly excellent. I nodded with satisfaction, picked up the last piece of meat into my bowl, and buried my head in my meal. The emperor sighed, not knowing what he said to me. Then turned and left with a crowd of people in a flurry. What did he just say? I asked Qinghe. It seems he said the Minister of Rites has returned from the northern border and will be attending tomorrow's banquet. So it's my father, whom I haven't seen for almost 10 years, who has returned. I let out an "oh" and continued to focus on my meal. Actually, Xiao Yanheng isn't that bad. Most of the pig trotters in the palace ended up in my Fuan Palace, and he must have tacitly allowed it. Although he doesn't like me, we do have over a decade of shared history. Sway, come sit with me. As the banquet began, Xiao Yanheng, seated at the head, pulled me to his side with a smile. My face stiffened, and I trembled uncontrollably, already too afraid to see how dark Chen Luoluo's expression had turned. Helplessly, my stepmother passed away from sorrow a year after Ji Yunnanning's death. My father, having lost his wife and daughter, spent several years in despair in the northern border. Later, for reasons unknown, he found a new resolve and stayed among the northern Di for 3 years, using his silver tongue to make them submit. As his only daughter now, Xiao Yanheng has to show me some respect. You've grown thinner, Your Highness, my father said, raising his cup to me with trembling hands. Not too bad. Not too bad, I managed to squeeze out after a long pause. In truth, he was the one who was truly emaciated. The 10 years of hardship in the northern border were vividly etched on him, a decade apart, and he had aged so much. But what did that have to do with me? The 10 years of wind and snow in the north were not endured for my sake. Thanks to him, I have been endlessly worn down in this palace, year after year, with no end in sight. You say, what has Shinjusi become after 5 years in the northern border? Is he still the way I remember him? It's a pity I'll never see him again. The corners of my eyes felt a bit sore, and I instinctively glanced toward my sister-in-law. This year, at the family banquet, she actually brought Yu along. Is this the second son of the Huayan family? Xiao Yanheng followed my gaze and immediately noticed Yu. Your Majesty, that is correct. My sister-in-law replied cautiously, hiding Yu behind her and casting an uneasy glance in my direction. Chen Luoluo curled the corner of her lips. I see. She does bear a resemblance to the young lady Ji from back then. The atmosphere grew somewhat tense. I laughed and said, as the saying goes, a nephew takes after his aunt. Come, let me have a look. Xiao Yanheng ignored me, his gaze fixed intently on Yu. My heart tightened. How old are you this year? Xiao Yanheng asked Yu with a stern face, his thoughts inscrutable to anyone at that moment. Your Majesty, Wu Yu is 5 years old this year. Wu Yu blinked his big eyes, looking somewhat at a loss as he glanced at Xiao Yanheng. Truly resembles him. I was closest to Xiao Yanheng, so I clearly heard his sigh of emotion. My heart sank. This is it. I do think they look quite alike. Sister Rufei and young Master Ji Yu are practically carved from the same mold, especially their eyes. Both have those almond-shaped eyes. A clear voice came from below. Seizing the opportunity, I pulled Wu Yu into my arms. It was Wang Yuan, who among those present isn't shrewd. The image of the eldest daughter of the Ji Yu family, with her phoenix eyes narrowed, was already deeply imprinted in everyone's minds. The Countess of Cheng'an laughed and said, "Indeed, it's true that a nephew takes after his aunt. Young Master Ji Yu looks exactly like consort are you." As these words were spoken, the entire gathering chimed in agreement. Xiao Yanheng looked at my nervous expression and suddenly laughed. Wu Yu's eyes are well formed, they deserve a reward. How about your imperial uncle giving you a trinket? Xiao Yanheng casually untied the jade pendant from his waist and handed it to Wu Yu with a smile. My anxious heart suddenly settled. It was the piece not Xiao Yanheng had worn for years. Peace, peace. He had granted Wu Yu safety. Wu Yu looked at me timidly, and I urged eagerly, "Wu Yu, quickly take it. This is your imperial uncle showing his affection for you." Wu Yu took the jade pendant and hurried back to her sister-in-law with quick steps. Xiao Yanheng then turned his gaze aside. "You are, Your Majesty. I am Wang Yuan from Luoxia Palace." Wang Yuan rose and bowed in greeting. I whispered into his ear, "Wang Ru's younger sister. Regardless of her intentions, since she protected Wu Yu, I ought to thank her." A glimmer of understanding flashed in his eyes as he naturally placed his hand over the back of mine. Such wit and grace deserve a reward. Finally, the banquet came to an end. I quickly withdrew my hand from Xiao Yanheng's clutches, made up an excuse, and hurriedly left. "You shouldn't have brought Boyu today. He can't avoid meeting people forever. With father having achieved such a great merit this time, even the emperor can't go too far." I fell silent for a moment. My elder brother wasn't wrong. Enough, fortunately, His Majesty still holds some affection for her. "You should return home now. If you encounter any difficulties in the palace, just write to me. After all, I am your brother," my elder brother said thoughtfully. "I'm fine. Just take good care of Lingen." I interrupted him impatiently. My sister-in-law added from the side, "He is doing well, but he often worries about you. It's good that he's safe. All I can do is pray for his safety." I patted Wu Yu's head and prepared to take the small path back to the palace. "Wu Yu, quickly say goodbye to your aunt," my sister-in-law urged, gently pushing Wu Yu, who was nestled beside her, forward. Wu Yu looked at me somewhat timidly. My expectant gaze dimmed a little. "Forget it. Don't force the child. It's been years since I last saw him. It's only natural he doesn't recognize me. You all should head back now. This is the fairy sister who sends you toys, clothes, and snacks every day. Weren't you always clamoring to meet her?" My sister-in-law grew anxious, crouching down to coax Wu Yu. "Didn't you say every day that you wanted to meet the fairy sister? Auntie here is the fairy sister." Wu Yu still seemed a bit hesitant. I smiled and was about to tell them to go back when suddenly I felt a weight on my thigh. I stiffened and looked down to see that it was Wu Yu, the little rascal, clinging to my leg. When he saw me looking down at him, he immediately grinned up at me. "Auntie, auntie, 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 yes, auntie, auntie, fairy auntie." I crouched down and hugged Wu Yu tightly, answering him each time he called. Just like over a decade ago, the young man leaned by the window, smiling brightly. "Sway sway, Suaining, my dear little sister." I was too shy to answer, so he called out again and again, "Suaining, little sister, Suaining, 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 my little wife." "Who's your little wife?" My heart skipped a beat, and I hurriedly tried to close the window. He clung shamelessly to the doorframe. "Dear sister, you've accepted my jade pendant, the one my family reserved for my future wife. You can't go back on your word now. Who said I'd marry you? Get out of here." He burst out laughing. "Sway sway, don't be angry. Look, fresh Osmanthus cakes." I wiped my eyes and gently pulled Wu Yu's hand away. "The palace is full of trouble. It's not safe for you to stay long. Take Wu Yu and go home. Just seeing him today is enough for me." "What are you talking about? Wu Yu is still waiting for you to arrange a marriage for him when he grows up. How could we be satisfied just at this point?" My sister-in-law forced a smile and tightly held my hand. "Ah," I responded crisply. I was truly grateful to my sister-in-law. Not long after I married into the Eastern Palace, she entered the Jiu residence. She could have come earlier, but there had been a death in her family, and she had to observe the 3-year mourning period. After I entered the Eastern Palace, My stepmother and father followed my elder sister to the northern border, and my birth mother had passed away early. I didn't even have anyone to share my intimate thoughts with, but my sister-in-law would often send her name card to the palace to visit me. If anything had gone wrong with Wayu's situation, it would have been a crime punishable by execution of the entire family, yet she followed my elder brother and me without any regrets and raised him so well. She always looks at me with pity in her eyes, and I regard her as my own sister. Sister, this is a steamed pig's trotter I just made. Would you like to try it? Seeing Wang Yuan sitting eagerly at the dining table, I couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. For 3 days in a row, Wang Yuan had already taken root in Fuan Palace. On the night the banquet ended, Xiao Yanheng summoned her to his chambers. Perhaps she had pleased His Majesty well, for when he asked what reward she desired, she immediately requested to move into Fuan Palace to live with me. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yanheng agreed without even blinking. Sis, how about making cold pig's feet tomorrow? Wang Yuan asked me while scooping rice. Let's braise them instead. The flavor is so rich and really goes well with rice. I mumbled with my mouth full of meat, answering carelessly. Yes, in the end, I gave in. After all, Wang Yuan is such a skilled cook. After eating and drinking our fill, Wang Yuan and I lazily slumped in our chairs, bored. Sis, I feel like something's missing. How about we play mahjong? Then we're still short 2 players. After saying this, we both glanced at each other's personal maids, 3 of circles, 1 of bamboos. Hula. Days passed by in such leisurely amusement. Wang Yuan, like her sister, possessed an interesting soul, which greatly pleased me. A few months later, Lady Liao became pregnant, which was a joyous event in the palace. Especially since Xiao Yanheng had no sons aside from his 2 princesses, Wang Yuan insisted on dragging me along to share in the auspiciousness. I rolled my eyes. Only a fool would go. I don't want to be the scapegoat for an abortion. Wang Yuan was frightened by my words and huddled with me in Fuan Palace, munching on pig trotters. Unfortunately, even though I avoided trouble, trouble found me anyway. After staying cooped up in the palace for months, I had just stepped into the imperial garden for some fresh air when consort Liao slipped and fell right in front of me. After listening to Chen Luoluo's exaggerated account, Xiao Yanheng waved his hand and banished me to the cold palace. Xiao Yanheng is really not a decent person. After all, I've been with him for over 10 years, yet he didn't even let me explain and directly banished me to the cold palace, staring at the bland vegetables in front of me. I couldn't help but voice my thoughts aloud. Sister, are you there? Overjoyed, I recognized Wang Yuan's voice. I opened the door. I'm here. Wang Yuan frowned in disdain. Didn't you warn me to stay away from Lady Liao? How did you end up in here yourself? I sighed. They've set their sights on me. What can I do? I know you have a sweet tooth. There's plenty of food here. Just make do for a couple of days. I've already asked my father to send a message to yours. This child, so disrespectful. After all, I hold the rank of a consort. Once I get out, I'll make sure she learns the difference between high and low. I opened the package to find it packed full. Dried meat, pastries, cured meats. How thoughtful, I sniffled, suddenly thinking of Shinjusi. Back in the day, he always loved buying all sorts of snacks for me too. On the first night in the cold palace, I was terribly scared myself. Later, I couldn't hold back my drowsiness any longer and drifted off to sleep. In my dream, it seemed like I heard someone murmuring softly in my ear, saying, "Sway sway, it won't be long now, just wait a little longer for me." I hadn't even been in the cold palace for a week before I was released. It was said that the culprit who harmed consort Liao had been found. Wang Yuan stood waiting for me at the palace gate. I looked around in confusion and asked, "Where's Qinghe?" Wang Yuan lowered her head, not daring to look at me, and after a long while whispered, "Someone has to willingly take the blame." I let out a soft "oh," and tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. The last family I had in the palace was gone. After this incident, I became even more reluctant to go out, staying cooped up in my Fuan Palace every day. Later, Wang Yuan was diagnosed with pregnancy, and she spent her days with me. Every day, I would inspect the palace, afraid there might be any safflower or musk. She was always worried about not being able to protect this child, and I said, "My fate is tough, just let this child recognize me as his godmother." At that moment, she rolled her eyes. "Why don't you have one yourself?" "I was pregnant once, but unfortunately, I lost it. I can't have children anymore," I replied casually. She stiffened, snatched a bracelet from my hand, and said it was a token of recognition. From then on, her child would be my child. Later, when we nervously made it to the 7th month, she suddenly went into premature labor. Listening to the wails from the room, My heart ached with pain. Xiao Yanheng sat silently in the chair, with Chen Luoluo naturally by his side. Truthfully, I really wanted to drive them away. They were just an eyesore standing there. A long, drawn-out cry echoed through the air. Congratulations, Your Majesty, it's a prince. My anxious heart finally settled. Whether it's a boy or a girl, this child is the hope for Wang Yuan and me to rely on for the rest of our lives in the palace. Your Highness, Lady Wang wishes to invite you in for a few words. My heart trembled, and I shivered as I entered the delivery room. Upon entering, I was met with a strong smell of blood, and Wang Yuan lay on the bed, her face deathly pale. It's a boy. You must recover quickly to stew pig's trotters for him, I said. Reaching out to hold Wang Yuan's hand, she frowned, trying hard to smile at me, but none of her former liveliness remained. Sister Sui, I'm done for. I entrust the child to you. Please raise him well. What nonsense are you talking? Get up quickly. His Majesty said he'll promote you to the rank of GU. You've given birth to the first prince. There will be plenty of blessings to enjoy in the future. I tried to pull her up, my voice choked with tears. Wang Yuan shook her head. What's the use of being a GU compared to braised pork trotters? Sister Sui, I'm going to find my sister. I miss her a lot. When I was little, she wrote to me about you. She said you also like braised pork trotters. I've wanted to meet you ever since. I have no such fortune. But Sister Sui, you must live a long life. Don't forget to offer a portion of pork trotters to me and my sister during the holidays. Live well with the little prince. My life isn't worth much. Don't worry about me. Sister Sui, I know what she meant. She wanted me to live well, to think of nothing, to seek no revenge, to harbor no hatred, to live like a fool in the palace, to survive, to endure alone in solitude. I watched with my own eyes as Wang Yuan breathed her last before me. As I carried the little prince out, the sharp, mournful announcement of death rang out from the inner chamber. Xiao Yanheng's expression was grim. Chen Luoluo glanced at me, then turned to comfort him. Extending the royal lineage is also a blessing for Sister Wang. Your Majesty, do not grieve too deeply. She paused, her ambition undisguised on her face. Sister Wang has just passed away, and I, as the imperial consort, am temporarily overseeing the phoenix seal of the harem. Why not place the young prince under my care in my palace for now? She has such nerve. How dare she? A surge of anger rose in my heart. If this blessing is for you, Your Highness, would you want it or not? She was taken aback by my blunt retort, as her impression of me since the Eastern Palace days was that I was reserved and steady, never expecting such sharp and fierce words from me. Lady Wang's final wish was for Consort Yu to raise the prince, so let it be done. Seated at the head, Xiao Yanheng gave the order. Chen Luoluo was somewhat indignant but ultimately did not speak up. I calmly carried the little prince back to my bedchamber and methodically arranged Wang Yuan's funeral. I dared not pause for even a moment, afraid that if I closed my eyes, I would see Wang Yuan and Qinghe by my side. 7 months ago, I bid farewell to Qinghe, and now, 7 months later, I personally sent Wang Yuan on her final journey. It's a pity I lack the ability to seek revenge. On the 7th day after Wang Yuan's passing, Xiao Yanheng came to my palace. I busied myself soothing the little prince. Too weary to pay him any mind, he didn't get angry, just sat quietly watching from the side. Eventually, he couldn't hold back any longer. Sui, look at me, talk to me. I glanced at him but said nothing. Sui, even if you cry, it would be better. I beg you, talk to me. I still ignored him. Indeed, since Lady Wang passed away, Consort Yu in the Fuan Palace hasn't eaten or drunk for days, only holding the little prince tightly all day long. Everyone is afraid. They all say Consort Yu has gone mad. I didn't go mad when father married me off to the Eastern Palace. I didn't go mad when I lost my first child. I didn't go mad when I was demoted from wife to concubine. I didn't go mad when my young love died. Countless times I gritted my teeth and told myself, Sui, you have to hold on, just get through this hurdle and it will be better. But after overcoming hurdle after hurdle, the people I care about most in my life have left me one by one. If possible, I would rather be the one who died. Sui, wait a little longer, whether you hate me or resent me. Just wait. I will spend my whole life atoning for my sins. Xiao Yanheng, as if possessed, gripped my hand and repeated these words over and over. I let out a cold laugh. How hypocritical. Why doesn't he go ask Shenjusi and Wang Yuan in the underworld if they forgive him? They're already dead. What's the use of talking about atonement now? If he brought me Chen Luoluo's head, I might actually consider it. My sister-in-law came to the palace to persuade me. I just smiled foolishly. She wiped her tears with a handkerchief. then threw it fiercely at my elder brother. "You're just creating more sin, forcing such a good girl into the palace. Sway sway, sister-in-law knows you're suffering. But you must get better. Look, Lingen and Wayu are here. They're all worried about you. You need to get well soon. Lingen is still waiting for you to find him a wife." The next day, sister-in-law came again, bringing both Lingen and Wayu with her. As soon as Wayu entered the room, he threw himself into my arms. Following his mother's instructions, he kept calling out to me, "Auntie, auntie, auntie." I didn't respond, so he just kept calling. Lingen has grown up, now much taller than me, having inherited his mother's good looks. Seeing my vacant stare, his eyes reddened as he knelt down. Just like when he was a child, he rested his head on my knees and said, "Sister, Lingen will take the imperial exams this year. Wait for me. And I'll bring back the top scholar title for you. Sister, you're all I have left. Please, just look at me, sister." In the Palace of Eternal Peace, the cries grew increasingly sorrowful, and the young maid newly assigned to serve me couldn't hold back her tears. Consort Ayu was a good person, never quick to scold or strike the palace servants, but why do good people never seem to get the rewards they deserve? A few days later, when Wayu and Lingen called for me again, I blinked and felt my spirit return. I thought, just wait a little longer. The little prince still needs me to raise him. Lingen is still waiting for me to find him a wife, and besides, I can't bear to part with Wayu. Just wait a little longer. 10 years have already passed. What difference do a few more days make? So I regained my former energy. Even though I still coughed up blood every night, it didn't seem to be a big problem. Perhaps on Xiao Yanheng's instruction, Wayu and Lingen often stayed in my palace from time to time. Wayu stared curiously at the quietly sleeping little prince, probably having never seen such a small, soft baby. Smiling, I took his hand and the little prince's and brought them together. "Wayu, this is your cousin, isn't he adorable?" Wow, Wayu wants to kiss his little brother. He was so fond of him he couldn't put him down, wishing he could stay in my palace every day. I then turned to Lingen beside me. "You're an uncle now, why not come over and learn how to raise a child, so you can be a good father in the future?" Lingen smiled and bowed. "As you command, dear sister." He was always afraid I might lose heart, and every day he found new ways to make me laugh. I collapsed on the day of the little prince's first birthday. Every physician who examined me diagnosed it as a depletion of vitality, brought on by overexertion and deep sorrow, which led to this bedridden state. Truth be told, I knew the reason well, having coughed up blood for a year. Surviving this long was only due to my stubborn will to live. I lay in bed all day in a daze. Xiao Yanheng smashed several sets of teacups, saying that if they couldn't cure me, the imperial physicians would have to pay with their heads. Lingen leaned close to my ear, calling my name. Later, I heard my father's voice. He said, "Suaning, my child, I was wrong. If I had known you liked juicy, I would never have sent you into the palace. I truly didn't know." Later, when your sister argued with Juicy in the northern borderlands, your uncle finally told me. Back then, he beat Juicy until he was barely breathing, but that boy still stubbornly refused to marry Nyanning. "Now that I think about it, you and Juicy must have had something between you." He went on and on, saying that you've always been a child with your own ideas, very clever. Your father thought you'd do just fine in the palace, so he felt at ease going to the northern border to look after your sister. After your sister passed away, your father thought you were the only daughter left and couldn't bear to let you suffer any more. That's why he wanted to earn more merits in front of His Majesty so he could come back and protect you. But he never expected you'd have such a hard time in the palace. I was so annoyed by them. Why is it so hard to get a good night's sleep? After I fell unconscious, Xiao Yanheng always stayed at Fuan Palace, sitting by my side all night. He would gently stroke my cheek and tell me to hold on a little longer. Later, he grew desperate, his eyes bloodshot as he shouted at me, "Gu Suaning, if you don't wake up soon, Shinjuse's son will be buried with you." I jolted awake and sat up straight. "Wayu must not die, he is Shinjuse's only heir." Xiao Yanheng watched me wake up, both angry and amused, before finally feeding me a bowl of medicine with a dark expression. A few days later, the Chen family finally fell from power. Chen Luoluo was sentenced to death by poisoned wine. On the day she died, I forced myself to burn paper offerings in the palace all day. Wang Ru, Qinghe, Wang Yuan, and my unborn child. Did you see? Chen Luoluo is finally dead. May you all rest in peace now. I took my last breath in Xiao Yanheng's arms. He asked me to wait for him, saying that in the next life, he would treat me well, that he loved me, and that he would make me his empress. I smiled and shook my head. If there is a next life, I hope we never meet again. My vision gradually blurred. and I seemed to see Shinjusi walking toward me, asking if I would marry him. I smiled and said yes, then married him in a bright red wedding dress. Xiao Yanheng's side story: she died in the 12th year of our marriage. In the end, I still couldn't keep her. What a fool she was. Even in death, she thought I favored Jiyu Nyaning. How could that wild, unruly girl ever compare to our Sui Sui, who was so much more endearing? The first time I met Sui Sui, I was still the crown prince of the Eastern Palace. The Minister of Rites was my first tutor. Every time I went to the Jiyu family for lessons, the person I saw most often was Jiyu Nyaning. It was clear that the tutor doted on her immensely, raising her to be willful and wild, yet also quite innocent. Out of respect for my tutor, I always had to look after her a little. Moreover, her maternal uncle's family was the Shen family, who, along with the Chen family, held military power, a constant source of concern for my father. Without sufficient confidence to defeat our enemies, it was always safer to put on a friendly face. My tutor preferred to teach in his study, and I would often sit by the desk listening. When I looked up, there was a window, and beyond the window lay the garden. From the garden, the laughter of Jiyu Nyaning and her siblings at play could often be heard. I glanced outside and spotted a little girl among the flowers and plants. The little girl buried herself among the flowers, watching Jiyu Nyaning and his sister from afar, her eyes filled with endless admiration. I am curious, where did this child come from? How have I never seen her before? As if sensing someone staring at her, she turned around and gave me a shy smile before timidly running away. That smile lingered in my mind all afternoon. I listened to the lesson absent-mindedly, my thoughts completely occupied by her. I longed to see her once more, but alas, she never came to the garden again. Another half a year passed, and I finally saw her again. Heaven knows how many times I craned my neck out the window just to catch a glimpse of her, earning me a scolding from the teacher. In late spring, the rain always falls incessantly, a dense and chaotic downpour that catches one off guard. Nearly 20 years have passed, yet I remember it so clearly, as if it happened just yesterday. The dazzling midday sun was suddenly obscured by a mass of dark clouds, and a torrential downpour descended from the sky. Fortunately, I had brought an umbrella before setting out alone. I strolled leisurely through the GU residence, finding the scenery in the rain rather uniquely charming. Turning the corner of the corridor, I caught sight of a small figure huddled under the eaves, trembling intermittently with each rumble of thunder. Who else could it be but that little girl? What a silly girl! I ran over with a heart full of pity, then crouched down and put on what I thought was my kindest smile. Where do you live? Should Big Brother take you home? A hint of helplessness flickered in her eyes. In the end, she couldn't withstand her fear of the thunder and timidly nodded. Just like that, I held her hand and walked with her all the way. I no longer had the leisure to admire the scenery along the road, for the little girl was more radiant than any view in the rain. After escorting her back to the courtyard, I walked a few steps before realizing I had forgotten to ask for her name. I was filled with regret. In truth, I wasn't much older myself at the time, but I felt I ought to protect her. I simply felt a pang of heartache for her. After that, I visited the GU residence more frequently. The GU estate was built far from the Eastern Palace, so I would often gallop halfway across the capital, then pause at the gate to straighten my attire. Suppressing my youthful delight as I walked into the GU residence with dignified composure, only later did I realize it wasn't just a young boy's joy, but rather the stirrings of youth. But my luck was truly not so good. 9 times out of 10, I couldn't see her, yet I came so often leaning against a tree to read, plucking the strings of a zither, or sneaking to the pond to play in the water, that I watched her gradually grow into a young woman, unconsciously. That girl quietly took up residence in my heart. I asked Jiyu Nyaning who that girl was, and she said it was her half-sister, Jiyu Suaning. I nodded. Sui Sui, such a lovely name. Sui Sui, Sui Sui. I hope she remains safe and sound year after year. People are always so greedy. When I couldn't see Sui Sui, I thought catching a distant glimpse would be enough, but when I could see her, I wanted to stay by her side. Unfortunately, she was always cold to me, only smiling for Jiyu Nyaning and Shinjusi. I had no choice but to patiently try to get closer to them. Jiyu Nyaning once asked me, how can I make the person I like me back? At that time, I glanced at the graceful figure outside the window and casually replied, then stay by their side every day, just like this, staying by her side, accompanying her through tears and laughter, walking with her all the way. Jiyu Nyaning truly believed me and, after hearing my words, clung to Shinjusi every day. Yet Shinjusi never once paused for her. He likes Sui Sui. Does he think I'm blind? The way he looks at Sui Sui is so tender, filled with blatant possessiveness, and I detest it immensely. Sui probably likes Shinjusi too. When the four of us walked together, Shinjusi was making a scene in front, while she watched from behind, her eyes full of him. I was actually quite happy too, because I had finally achieved my wish to walk with her openly and honestly. She didn't know that my heart was pounding fiercely at the time, and though I had 1,000 words in my heart, I couldn't utter a single one. This feeling is truly strange. I, too, am well-read and eloquent, capable of debating with a room full of ministers. Yet, the moment I see her, I become so flustered that I don't know what to do. It took me a long while to come up with a brilliant topic. The young man suppressed the fluttering in his heart and, maintaining a formal demeanor, asked her in a measured tone whether she had eaten her morning, noon, and evening meals. The young lady curved her almond-shaped eyes into a smile as she replied, stealing occasional glances at the one who held her heart. She didn't know that whenever her gaze rested on Shinjusi, his own heart and eyes were completely filled with her. Suaning, once the new year passes, may I ask your uncle for your hand in marriage? With an expressionless face, I stood behind the rockery. My fists clenched tightly beneath the wide sleeves of my robe. Hearing the girl's shy agreement, a cold sneer rose from the depths of my heart. A marriage proposal? You'd have to be lucky enough to live that long. The Shun family is doomed to fall. If my Sui marries him, how could she have a good life in the future? Sui is meant to be my wife, to share the same quilt in life and the same grave in death. She is destined to be mine. Sui is a daughter of a concubine. The emperor would never agree to her being the crown princess. I must find a way. Jiyu Nyaning likes Shinjusi, and given her father's favoritism toward her, Sui will surely replace Jiyu Nyaning and marry me. So I deliberately sought an imperial decree, wise and pure-hearted, elegant and dignified. I begged my father to add these words. My Sui deserves the finest phrases in this world. There was never a crown prince seeking to marry the Jiyu family's legitimate daughter, from beginning to end. It was always the Jiyu family's daughter, Jiyu Suaning. She indeed replaced Jiyu Nyaning and married me. On our wedding day, my heart was bursting with joy, but when I lifted Sui's red veil, I immediately saw her swollen, tear-filled almond eyes. My heart skipped a beat. If she knew I had gone to great lengths to break her and Shinjusi apart, would she ignore me? So I could only pretend to be cold toward her, racking my brains every day to come up with excuses to visit her palace. Later, to balance the court's power, I took in several concubines. Following my father's wishes, I married Chen Luoluo. The Chen family wouldn't last long either. Of course, after they helped me eliminate the Shen family, later, she became pregnant. When the imperial physician told me, I ran all the way to her palace in one breath. If we had a child, would Sui finally settle down and live peacefully with me? When I rushed into her chamber, she was sitting quietly by the bed. Seeing it was me, she smiled and said, "Congratulations, Your Highness, you are going to be a father." Yes, I was going to be a father. This was my and Sui's first child. We would have many, many more children in the future, children that belonged solely to the two of us. Trembling, I held her in my arms. Sui, whether it's a boy or a girl, this child will be the apple of my eye. If it's a boy, he will be the crown prince's heir, then the crown prince, and eventually the emperor. If it's a girl, she will be the happiest girl in the entire capital, worthy of even the stars and the moon. I was filled with anticipation for the birth of this child, but I never expected Chen Luoluo would harm Sui. As I gritted my teeth, wanting to kill Chen Luoluo, my father slapped me. The Shun family still relies on the Chen family to be eliminated. At this time, Chen Luoluo must not come to harm. My father threatened me with Sui's life, for her safety. I had no choice but to deliberately cold-shoulder her. Of course, Chen Luoluo's child couldn't be kept either. There was contraceptive medicine in her daily meals, so even if she had managed to conceive by chance, it wouldn't have been possible to keep the child. Later, when I ascended the throne, fearing that Chen Luoluo might harm Sui again, I had no choice but to grant her the title of consort. I spent a whole day thinking about her title, and then, for some reason, a phrase Shinjusi once said suddenly came to mind. He said that if he were to marry Sui, he would treat her like a pearl and jade. So, let it be consort you. I, too, will treat Sui like a pearl and jade. On the day I joined forces with the Chen family to eliminate Shinjusi, I also sat in my study for the entire day. After all, Juicy and I had once been true brothers. But Sui actually slapped me for Shinjusi's sake. I was deeply hurt, yet I couldn't bring myself to scold her. All I could do was leave in anger. This foolish girl still thinks I have feelings for Jiyu Nyaning. What a joke. if I truly liked her, how could she ever have the chance to marry someone else? I turned and went to the Imperial Hospital. Suesue's health has been poor since the miscarriage, but it shouldn't have reached the point of coughing up blood and fainting. When it comes to Suesue, I can't afford to be careless. After investigating for a few days, I actually found something. Chen Luoluo's heart is truly vicious. She secretly administered a slow-acting poison to Suesue. Fortunately, it hadn't been long. I discreetly sent Qinghe to protect her. Knowing she loves braised pig trotters, I had Qinghe mix the antidote into the stew and feed it to her. After the poison was neutralized, I still wasn't at ease. I directly sent most of the palace's pig trotters to Fuan Palace, stewed them with tonics, and gave them all to Suesue to help her recover. Since the Shen family fell, the Chen family has become increasingly arrogant. They even dared to lay hands on my Suesue. Suesue, just wait a little longer, the Chen family won't last long. Unexpectedly, a few days later, she actually came to me with pastries to make amends. I was overjoyed. I've seen her embroider a pouch for Shinjusi, and I wanted one too. So I boldly asked for it. To my surprise, she agreed. She even embroidered a pouch for Shinjusi. As her husband, it's not too much for me to ask for one, is it? I know why she came to make amends. Does she think I'm unaware that Jiyu Nyaning got Shinjusi drunk and had a child with him, at the banquet? I did consider eliminating the root of the problem, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. The child looks so much like Suesue. I couldn't help but sigh. But Suesue guarded Zhuoyu as if I were a thief, holding him tightly. The two of them, one big and one small, stared at me with similar almond-shaped eyes, and I suddenly remembered the child Suesue lost. If he were still here, he would be about this age now. Enough, an innocent child should not be blamed. How did he get such eyes? They look exactly like my Suesue's. Later, Chen Luoluo also framed Suesue for Liao Meiren's miscarriage. Qinghe is my person. She took the blame for Suesue under my orders. I knew she was timid, so I stayed with her in the cold palace all night. I don't know who she dreamed of, but she slept very restlessly. Suesue, just wait a little longer. Soon, the Chen family will also fall. I can't risk alerting them before I'm absolutely certain. Your Majesty, Lord Jiyu is requesting an audience. Summon him in. Gazing absently at the fair-skinned, red-lipped youth entering the hall, I found him looking more and more like Suesue. Have the funeral arrangements at your residence been completed? Understood, I nodded, then suddenly flung the memorial in my hand, striking a gash on his forehead, blood gushing out in a steady flow. If Suesue were still here, she would probably frown in distress. The young man still remained silent. Do you take me for a fool? 2 people from the Jiyu family died suddenly within a month. One was the teacher, the other was Jiyu Huayan. Back then, they forced Suesue to marry me. Jiyu Lingen has been lying low all these years, and in the end, he has avenged his sister. If he could, he would probably be the first to want to kill me with his own hands. Just this once, and never again. I pressed my lips together, finally speaking. Thank you for your Majesty's great kindness. After all, he is Suesue's only remaining relative. Go see Ping'an, he misses you very much. Ping'an is the nickname Suesue gave to the little prince, who is also my only son. The young man's expression softened considerably. Suesue treated Ping'an as her own child, and Jiyu Lingen also had some genuine affection for Ping'an. After the miscarriage, Suesue's health was damaged, and it would be difficult for her to conceive again in the future. I didn't want Suesue to suffer. Since Wang Yuan was close to Suesue, if Wang Yuan became pregnant, it would be good to let Suesue raise the child. So I stopped Wang Yuan's contraceptive medicine and secretly sent people to protect both of them. But unexpectedly, Chen Luoluo tampered with Wang Yuan's childbirth, and Wang Yuan's death became the final straw that broke Suesue. Later, Suesue's health deteriorated even further. When the young prince turned 1 year old, she fell seriously ill and never recovered. The imperial physician said she has lost the will to live. How dare she die? How can she die? I haven't even had the chance to tell her that I like her. Jiyu Suaning, if you don't wake up soon, Shinjusi's son will be buried with you. I was desperate, uttering reckless threats in my panic. She still cared about Shinjusi after all. Waking up as soon as she heard the name Wayu, I was both angry and afraid. But seeing her pitiful state, I couldn't bring myself to scold her. I knew I held little weight in her heart and couldn't keep her. So I had her sister-in-law bring Wayu and Jiyu Lingen into the palace to see her. Even if it was for the sake of the children, it would be good if I could keep her. I couldn't wait any longer, so I accelerated the downfall of the Chen family and gave Chen Luoluo a cup of poisoned wine. On the day Chen Luoluo died, Suesue suddenly became spirited. I was overjoyed, thinking we could finally live peacefully together, but I never expected it would be her last day. She died the day after Chen Luoluo's death. Xiao Yanheng, I don't want to meet you in the next life. She breathed her last in my arms. I, the emperor, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Fine, let's not meet again in the next life. It was I who wronged you, trapping you for a lifetime. I have sat alone on the high throne for another 20 years. Later, I met a monk from the South Seas. I promised him 100 royal temples, and he granted me a wish worth 1,000 pieces of gold. As the emperor, what wish could I possibly have that remains unfulfilled? Ah, yes, I do have one wish. May the departed find peace in the next life, and may every year be as safe and sound as the harvest. Rebirth chapter. As the rain began to patter down, the GU residents had already hung up white funeral banners. The illegitimate daughter of the GU family had died, taken by a sudden chill, in the prime of her youth. Just as she reached the age of 15, General Shun returned 3 days later. Having exhausted 2 horses without rest, and collapsed straight before the coffin on the day of the funeral. Brother Juicy, please go inside and rest for a while. Okay, Sui Sui is already gone, you must take care of yourself. How did Sui Sui pass away? She was perfectly fine when I left for the northern border. How could she fall ill and die in less than a month? Jiyu Nyaning, did you bully her? He avoided Jiyu Nyanning's helping hand, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at her. Shinjusi, I may be arrogant, I may be unreasonable, but don't pin such filthy accusations on me. Jiyu Nyanning withdrew her hand as if nothing had happened, turning to look away, her head still held high with pride, yet the look in her eyes, which avoided Shinjusi, revealed boundless loneliness. Sorry, I overreacted, but I won't let this matter rest. I hope you are truly innocent. You'll investigate. Shinjusi, what exactly is your relationship with her? Jiyu Suaning, is she even worth you? She is the wife I will marry after the new year. What do you think my relationship with her is? Shinjusi suddenly laughed. 3 betrothal teas and 6 wedding rites. A proper marriage. She is the one and only wife of Shinjusi, son of the Shin family. Is that enough? The resolute words fell with the burning determination of youth. Jiyu Nyanning's unfinished sentence stuck in her throat, and her eyes suddenly welled up with tears. With the 3 teas and 6 rites, a proper marriage. What does that make her? By the time I came to my senses, the white funeral banners of the GU family had been hanging for half a month. Gazing at my reflection in the bronze mirror, I felt a moment of dazed confusion. When Jiyu Suaning of the GU family opened her eyes again, she had become an orphan girl in the outskirts, and this orphan girl looked almost exactly like me. But to be more precise, the person I am now is not the 15-year-old Jiyu Suaning who had just died. Jiyu Suaning, who passed away in the 9th year of Zheng'an, had returned to the 35th year of Jingyuan, the year Shinjusi said he would marry me. It was also the year before I married into the Eastern Palace. It was like a dream in the dream of my past life. My Juicy died in the northern border, and I was forced to marry Crown Prince Xiao Yanheng in place of Jiyu Nyanning, only to lose my child, my friends, and finally my own life. The people I cherished the most left me one by one. And I could only endure, lonely and clear-headed, until the end of my days in the palace. That was truly a dark period. But I have returned. In this life, Jiyu Suaning, the daughter of the Jiyu family, is already dead. No one can force her to enter the palace anymore. Now there is only the orphaned Sui Sui. She no longer needs the shackles of any responsibilities. She only wishes urgently to see one person, an old friend she hasn't met in a very, very long time. Please inform General Shun that Sui Sui wishes to see him. Waiting outside the mansion, I felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness, my heart pounding as I nervously twisted the corner of my clothes. Sui Sui, a voice filled with surprise and joy rang out. My eyes welled up with tears, and through the blur, I saw a young man in white robes approaching me. He was backlit, half of his face hidden in shadow, making his features indistinct in the shifting light. But I knew it was him, my Shinjusi. With eyes closed, I was pulled fiercely into his embrace, feeling the burning chest and sincere heartbeat of the youth. Sui Sui, I miss you so much. I always wanted to see you again. They say you dream of the person you miss the most, but you refuse to come to my dreams. Take me with you. If 2 people cross the Naihe bridge hand in hand, it will be a destined marriage in the next life. Sui Sui, having accompanied you through hell, we are practically a couple who have bowed to heaven and earth. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse. My little general actually doesn't believe in gods or ghosts. He earned his military honors on the battlefield, carrying countless lives on his conscience. Every time he went off to war, I would carefully seek out protective talismans for him, but he would laugh and say, "If there really were bodhisattvas or spirits, the king of hell would have claimed my life long ago. My fate is in my own hands, yet now, for my sake." He is willing to believe in such things. Shinjusi, I miss you too, so very much. I wrapped my arms around his waist, stood on tiptoe, and slowly leaned in to gently brush my lips against his. "Now do you still think I'm a ghost?" He suddenly smiled. Sway sway, Before I could react, his broad palm cupped the back of my head, and he leaned down to kiss my lips. At first, it was gentle and restrained, with a hint of cautious testing, then gradually deepened, full of domineering intensity. I closed my eyes, letting him part my lips, letting him conquer and claim. All the rules and proprieties of the world faded into insignificance, paling in comparison to the person before me. Nothing compares to the joy of regaining what was lost. The young man kissed his girl who had returned from the dead, with utmost devotion, as if years had passed in a single day, like a reunion after long separation. The maiden responded with fervor, a longing that transcended life and death. A 12-year anticipation. She had come from the 9th year of Zhang'an to find her young general. I did indeed fall seriously ill. After recovering, I found myself in the outskirts, and I had taken on the appearance of another person. That is all I know. Do you believe me or not? If you fear that I have become a mountain spirit or demon seeking to harm you, speak up now, and I will not trouble you further. I believe. Having my sway sitting before me safe and sound is the greatest fortune. Even if you were a mountain spirit or wild monster, I would accept it. I only ask that if you need to absorb essence, you do not seek the service of other men. Your husband is strong and robust. 3 times a day is no problem. You're being shameless again. I glared at him, my cheeks already flushed crimson at the thought of what had just happened. My dear Sway, we've already kissed. You've accepted the jade pendant, and you've even embroidered the mandarin duck pouch. It's only a matter of time, so why be shy? He bent down and wrapped his arms around me, whispering softly in my ear. Mentioning the jade pendant only made it worse. I pushed him away abruptly. The jade pendant is still back at the GU residence. In my previous life, Shinjusi had given me the Shin family's heirloom jade pendant. Unfortunately, I married into the Eastern Palace shortly after the new year, and I later had someone return the pendant to him. But now, since none of that has happened yet, the pendant is naturally still in my room. Hearing about the GU residence, Shinjusi regained his composure. Sway, how did you catch a cold? Did GU Nyanning bully you? I shook my head. Although she is spoiled, she doesn't have such ill intentions. This cold was my own carelessness, and I didn't expect it to drag on like this. In my previous life, there was also such an episode, but it cleared up quickly back then. Seeing that Shinjusi was leading troops in the northern border, I didn't tell him to avoid distracting him. However, this time there's a slight difference. I actually died from this cold, but in the end, it was a blessing in disguise. I am no longer a daughter of the GU family. If the palace issues an edict in the future, I won't have to marry into the Eastern Palace in place of GU Nyanning. What about the GU family? Shinjusi glanced at my expression and spoke hesitantly. I don't want them to know. Let's just say GU Suaning is already dead. It's just that I still worry about Lingen. I sighed. I repaid the debt of their care over the years with my life in my previous existence, so in this life, I owe them nothing. Don't worry about Lingen. After all, I am his cousin. It won't be difficult to look after him from time to time. If you wish, choose a good time to tell him. After we get married, we can find a reason for him to recognize you as his adoptive sister. But now I am an orphan girl. Will your parents agree to let me marry you? Even as a daughter of the GU family, I was not worthy of him, let alone as a peasant girl. His eyes suddenly lit up, and he leaned in as if seeking praise. Sway. I thought of this long ago, back when you were still at the GU residence. I was afraid that if you married into my family, people might gossip, so I made arrangements with the dowager of the Wu family. She agreed to recognize you as her daughter, treating you as a true relative. The matron of honor at our wedding will be her eldest daughter-in-law, a woman blessed with both sons and daughters and a harmonious marriage. We can share in her good fortune too. I widened my eyes, surprised at how much he knew. You know so much about this. Did you secretly get married in the northern frontier? As soon as I said it, I paused, feeling a slight unease in my heart. It was true. In my past life, Juicy had married GU Nyanning in the northern frontier. My father even resigned from his post and settled there just to witness their union. After a moment, I remembered that this happened after I had married into the Eastern Palace. I was the one who broke our promise. Boarding the royal bridal sedan before he could propose, What right did I have to blame him? Perhaps noticing my change in expression, he quickly said, No, Sway, you've wronged me. I learned all this from my army brothers. I had to prepare early. What if things didn't meet your expectations and you refused to marry me? He nuzzled against me pitifully, but I pretended not to notice and deliberately asked, The dowager of the Wu family is a princess. How did you manage to win her favor? He smiled proudly. The dowager is naturally kind-hearted, and besides, I once saved her only grandson. How could she refuse? You've thought of everything. If I don't marry you, wouldn't it be a waste of your intentions? I laughed, but a sour feeling choked my throat. It turns out he had arranged everything for me without my knowledge. In our previous life, did he think the same way? It's a pity he never got the chance to tell me, and it's a pity I still owe him a wedding. If Sway doesn't agree, it doesn't matter. I'll go to the GU residence to retrieve that jade pendant and ask for your hand again tonight. With that, he turned to leave. I forced a smile through my discomfort. Tonight, I'll go with you. Quietly, let's be thieves together for once. Sway, step on me to climb up. Sit on the eaves first, and I'll help you down after I climb over. Shinjusi half-squatted, urging me to step onto his shoulders. Aren't you skilled in martial arts? Why can't you just jump over with me? I looked at the 2-meter-high eaves and felt like backing out. He frowned in exasperation. I shouldn't have bought you so many storybooks back then. If everyone could fly, what would be the point of having eaves like these? I swallowed hard, trembling as I stepped on his shoulder and straddled the ridge of the eaves. Shinjusi, hurry up and come over. I'm afraid I'll fall. A teasing voice rose from below the eaves. In the past, when you ignored me, I always quietly climbed the wall to watch you. Today, I'll let you experience it for a while, so you won't dare to ignore me again. He was clearly used to this kind of thing. With a flick of his robe, he effortlessly dropped into the courtyard. Come on, Sway, I'll catch you. Just jump down, don't worry. He reached out his hand, looking up at me with a smile. I gritted my teeth, closed my eyes, and jumped. The wind whistled past my ears, followed by the embrace of a sturdy chest. Feeling reassured, I wrapped my arms around his neck. Who knows if General Shun also spends his nights climbing walls to peek at girls up north in the borderlands. Jealous, he lowered his head close to my ear. Only Sway gets to hug me, and only Sway gets to step on my shoulders. Are you satisfied now? Smooth talker. I slipped out of his embrace. Though my heart felt as sweet as if it were coated in honey, I thought to myself, why did I always stick to the rules in my past life? I never even held hands with my Juicy before I died. It just goes to show that life is meant to be lived for oneself. One should seize the moment and follow one's heart. I quietly pushed open the door to my room, only to feel that while the place remained the same, I had changed. After all, it had been over a decade since I left the GU residence, and my state of mind was no longer that of my youth. Unbidden thoughts, unforgettable. I fumbled under the bed and pulled out a small box. Slowly opening it, inside were all sorts of trinkets my younger brother Lingen had sent me. I opened the bottom layer, and there lay the jade pendant, resting quietly. I reached out and slowly took the jade. The scene from my past life of holding it while thinking of someone still vivid in my mind. Back then, my thoughts were filled with fantasies of life after marrying Juicy. If he practiced martial arts, I would cheer him on from the side. If he studied, I would grind ink for him. If I did embroidery in my leisure time, it would be wonderful to have him keeping me company with casual conversation. In a few years, we would add 2 or 3 children. A simple, warm life would be more than enough. Yet, life is unpredictable. In the end, I did not marry the man I fell for at the first bloom of love, and the husband I did marry never shared intimate chats with me. Instead, it was the red candles in the palace that kept me company, sitting in solitude until dawn. My child never even opened their eyes to see this world before peacefully falling asleep. The wishes made in youth ultimately remained unfulfilled dreams. Sway, Shinjusi gently held my shoulders. His face full of concern, I snapped back to reality and shook my head at him, indicating that I was fine. Who? The dark figure outside burst through the door, charging straight at Juicy. Juicy dodged with a swift sidestep and then seized his hands. Let go of me, you wretched villain. Lingen, I exclaimed in surprise. The two of them paused noticeably, and Juicy quickly released him. What are you doing here in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Lingen didn't speak. Just slowly moved closer to me. Is it you, sister? I was speechless, my flustered hands already betraying my nervousness. I had originally planned to reveal my identity to him later. This situation was completely unexpected. I opened my mouth, feeling at a loss. Sister, Lingen misses you so much. Mother is gone, and you left too. Lingen has no family left at all. I've been missing you so much. I often come here in the evenings, hoping that one day you would return to see me, Lingen. It's me, I'm back, I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you later. I was afraid of scaring you. After all, I don't want to have any more ties with the GU family. But you're different, you still need to study. Can you understand me, sister? I crouched down and hugged him, my heart filled with guilt. In my past life, I had left him all alone, never getting to see him marry and have children. But I don't regret it. In this life, I will never have any connection with the GU family again. Thinking of father's bloodshot eyes as he whipped Lingen, and how he forced me to marry in place of GU Nyanning, I still feel a deep sense of injustice. We are both his children, yet Lingen and I are only worthy of picking up the things they cast aside. Perhaps noticing that Juice's gaze had been fixed on me, he asked, "Sister, is the sweetheart you mentioned to Lingen our cousin Juicy? But usually, GU Nyanning is always clinging to my cousin. Can cousin Juicy take good care of my sister?" Lingen gently patted my back, his eyes fixed intently on Juicy, firing off a series of questions. Facing his future brother-in-law, Juicy solemnly swore with his hand raised to the sky, "I will never let her be wronged. My feelings for your sister are as clear as the sun and moon. GU Nyanning is only my cousin. If she disregards our familial ties, I will not be polite." Though still childish, Lingen put on a stern face, pretending to be a little adult. "As a man, you must keep your word. If you ever bully my sister, I will never let you off for the rest of my life." Haha, Juicy pinched Lingen's cheek and laughed. "If that time really comes, I'll be the first to strike myself dead. Hurry up and leave. If you alert the guards, it'll just cause more trouble." Xiaohubot document anti-piracy printing. Choose Xiaohu for finding books with the robot. Stable and reliable heavy checkmark # no pitfalls. Immersive translate. Lingen, taking advantage of Juicai's inattention, quietly leaned close to me to give a reminder, and a warm feeling slowly flowed through my heart. If you want to marry cousin, sister, you must never acknowledge your connection to the GU family. GU Nyanning likes cousin, and father will certainly use his authority as an elder to pressure you into giving him up to her. You can't win against her. Sway, are you up yet? You lazy cat, get out of bed quickly. Early in the morning, I heard Juicai's voice. I groggily opened my eyes and saw him leaning by the window. "What are you up to again?" Juicy flashed a bright smile. "It's Qingming Festival today, a perfect day for a spring outing. I'll take you out." I perked up with interest. "Where is my grave? I'd like to take a look." After returning that night, I had intended to go back to my little farmhouse, but Juicy was adamant that it wasn't safe for me to be alone. I teased him by suggesting we live together, and to my surprise, his ears turned red as he stammered about how improper it would be. So all his previous flirting with me was just a bluff, putting on a bold front but crumbling under pressure. I had a good laugh at his expense, but it did remind him that he had a residence in the capital, so he settled me there. "Why, look at this, it's surely inauspicious." Though somewhat reluctant, he still complied with my wish. It is now April, and the weather is gradually warming. Shedding the heavy padded jacket gives a feeling of lightness, as if ascending to immortality. The warm sun shines on my body, bringing a sense of peace I haven't felt in years. The scenery is beautiful. If I were to rest here forever, I would be content. Walking along the mountain path, I find the surrounding views truly pleasing to the eye. Juicy, hearing someone call out Juicy from behind, the two of us stopped and looked back. It turned out to be GU Nyanning. She strode toward us. "Rumors are flying that you've taken a farm girl under your wing, treasuring her like a precious gem. What, have you already forgotten Sway after just a few days?" She glanced at me casually. "And now you're personally bringing your new favorite to see your old flame, GU Suaning." A look of lingering fear showed on her face. "You're not dead," I smiled politely, pretending to know nothing. "What is the lady talking about? I don't understand. My name is Sway. And I don't know who this GU Suaning you speak of is." She walked over to me and looked me up and down. "Right, I was wondering how that lovesick fool Juicy could have fallen for someone else. You really do look alike." Juicy frowned and shielded me behind him. "Don't make a scene, Juicy. She can be GU Suaning's substitute. I am her own sister. Why am I the only one who cannot?" GU Nyanning asked him with a smile, a trace of desolation clearly flashing in her eyes. Both of us were left speechless. After all, we couldn't very well tell her that the person in this body is still the original owner from before. "To be honest with you, miss, you are merely a substitute for my sister. If you know what's good for you, you should leave him sooner rather than later. Your statuses are not well matched. If it were my sister, I might concede this once in this lifetime. But unfortunately, she is gone, you are not her, and I am destined not to let you have him. Seeing her sorrowful expression just now reminded me of how she had followed Juicy in death out of love in our previous life, and I felt a twinge of pity, but this provocation stirred up my anger all over again. If I were Ji Suaning, would she really concede to me once? Then why didn't she yield to me in our past life? In that lifetime, she was the one who tore me and Juicy apart. Miss Ji, you are far too presumptuous. Juicy is not an object, there has never been a question of yielding or not yielding him. Besides, I don't need you to yield him to me. In my past life, I yielded again and again, yet never received a single word of kindness. In this life, what is mine remains mine. I will no longer be so weak. Page, suit yourself then. She stormed off in a rage. I glanced at Shen Juicy, recalling how in our previous life he and Ji Nyaning married and had children, only to both die in the northern borderlands. I had to risk my life maneuvering behind the scenes, all while hiding it from Xiao Yanheng, desperately trying every means to protect their child. And now, after all that, I still had to endure Ji Nyaning's sarcastic remarks. You heartbreaker, it's all your fault. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I started walking up the mountain, and Shen Juicy hurriedly followed behind me. Sway, don't be angry, look, we were just laughing and talking a moment ago. Besides, I promise you're the only one in my heart. Just think of her as talking nonsense, vulgar. Don't follow me, I'm going to be by myself. Seeing you just annoys me. Shen Juicy, scolded by my outburst, stood there pitifully, not daring to move. Sway, I'm innocent. I ignored him and walked straight into the woods. From a distance, I could see a tombstone standing there, likely my own. Looking closely at my own name engraved on the tombstone felt rather strange. I sighed and said, "Rest in peace." From the tone of your words, Miss, it seems you were acquainted with the person buried here. A voice all too familiar sounded by my ear. My heart tightened, and I nearly fell to my knees. I shouldn't have gone out today, of all people, to run into someone I knew. We've never met before, it's just that seeing the young mistress pass away so young, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow. I lowered my head, not daring to look at him, my heart filled with unease. Why on earth has Xiao Yanheng come here? In this life, I haven't married into the Eastern Palace. So what connection could we possibly have? That scoundrel was utterly despicable in my past life. Even after I died, he lied and said he loved me. Who in the world demotes the woman they love from wife to concubine? He wasted my entire previous life for nothing. Indeed, it's a pity. She was extremely gentle and obedient in her lifetime, a very good girl. His words carried a faint sense of melancholy, but to me, they were nothing but torture. In this life, I detest the words gentle and obedient more than anything. Then I shall not disturb you any further, sir. I take my leave. Why the hurry, miss? It seems you dare not lift your head to look at me. My mind went blank, and I stammered, your status is extraordinary, sir. I am but a peasant girl, and I fear I might offend you. He laughed again and leisurely posed a question. That is truly strange. You haven't even looked up at me. So how do you know my status is noble? Where has the boldness you showed when arguing with Miss Gu gone? So he had heard everything. Fortunately, I hadn't revealed any secrets earlier. Or with his intelligence, he might have guessed something. But judging by his reaction, why is he so fixated on me? Could it be that he is also reborn? My heart tightened, and I only wanted to leave this place quickly. Well, what a coincidence today. Young Master Xiao is here too. The new person at the residence lacks experience. Hurry over to my side. Hearing Shen Juice's voice, I breathed a sigh of relief, no longer caring to argue with him, and meekly hid behind him with downcast eyes. Juicy seems quite attentive to this young lady. Xiao Yanheng turned to gaze at the tombstone, lost in thought. I always used to see you being close to her, so I thought she must have been special to you. Suaning has always had feelings for us when we played together. Even a busy person like you made time to visit her. All right. I know our young master Xiao values emotions, but the most important thing is to cherish the one right in front of you. I won't disturb you any further. Before Xiao Yanheng could even open his mouth, Shen Juicy pulled me away. The way back felt heavy. Recalling Xiao Yanheng's words, my heart felt somewhat stifled. I hoped he knew nothing at all. Shen Juicy also seemed downcast. He rested his head on my shoulder, lost in thought for a long while before looking me straight in the eyes. My Sway is too endearing. I need to hurry and take you home to keep you hidden, so no one else can covet you. I paused and scolded. What nonsense are you talking? Xiao Yanheng clearly liked Ji Nyaning. In the previous life, his marriage to me was nothing but a misunderstanding. In this life, without me as a substitute bride, Ji Nyaning could peacefully marry into the Eastern Palace. With the Ji family to protect her and Xiao Yanheng's genuine affection, she would not end up like me. Juicy smiled, but in a place I couldn't see, he secretly clenched his fist. After all, they had been brothers for so many years. And he understood Xiao Yanheng well. If he had not a single selfish thought for Sui Sui, the crown prince would not have specially come to mourn a lady who was of no use to him today. How could he like Ji Nyaning? He was clearly coveting his Sui Sui. The sound of firecrackers echoed, and gongs rang throughout the capital. The elderly lady of the Wu family personally placed the red veil over my head and, with a smile, joined our hands together. Go on, child, Juicy is a good man. I wish you a harmonious marriage and a lifetime together. As my cold fingertips touched his warm, sturdy palm, I couldn't help but shiver. Hesitantly, his large hand closed tightly over mine, enveloping it completely. Don't be afraid, I'm here. The young man's firm voice reached my ears, and I truly felt much more at ease. When the bridal sedan chair arrived at the Shun residence, I felt a moment of dizziness. Was this really not a dream? Something I had longed for over a decade in my past life was now coming true in this one. I don't know how Juicy persuaded his parents, but within a few months of our return from the mountain, our wedding was already being planned. First bow to heaven and earth, Juicy and I slowly knelt facing the sky. Second bow to the parents. General Shun and his wife sat solemnly in the main hall as JAS and I bowed together, bow to each other as husband and wife, through the gap in my bridal veil. I saw him smiling as he bent forward. The ceremony is complete. Escort the couple to the bridal chamber. The sound of footsteps came in the late night. I hadn't been nervous before, but as the wooden boards clacked, my heart suddenly grew restless. A flood of red filled my vision, and I heard the footsteps come to a halt. The scale rod lifted my red veil, and as I looked up, I saw Shun Juicy dressed in red, his eyes and brows wild with a smile aimed at me. Sui Sui, I've come to marry you. My eyes curved, and I nearly shed golden tears. This is exactly like the dream I had when I died. He was also wearing a red robe, smiling and saying he would marry me and take me home. I've been looking forward to this wedding for a full 12 years. And now that it's actually happening today, it feels so unreal. Shun Juicy, am I dreaming? You really came to marry me, I murmured, afraid that this might just be a dream. Silly, how could this be false? We've bowed to heaven and earth together, and now it's too late for regrets. On such a joyous day, why are you crying? You should be happy. Don't worry, I will never let you down. Tonight. Shun Juicy was exceptionally patient and gentle. He held me in his arms and whispered, with flickering red candles by the table and red dates scattered across the bed. He gently kissed me. The moonlight tonight was incredibly beautiful, clear and shimmering like a river, where mandarin ducks seemed to nuzzle and whisper intimately, stirring ripples of springtime passion. Later, I fell into a deep sleep, unaware of the sincere kiss my beloved placed upon my brow. Shun Juicy kept watch over Sui Sui by the moonlight, too excited to sleep. He had always counted the days until this moment, and now that it had finally arrived, he felt a surreal, weightless joy. It wasn't just Sui Sui who was nervous. He, too, had been anxious when fetching his bride, but the moment he saw her sitting there obediently, waiting for him to take her home, an endless surge of courage suddenly filled his heart. The woman before him was the one he had fought tirelessly to win, the girl he had wanted to marry from the very first moment he laid eyes on her. From now on, he would always treat her well. He smiled. Suddenly recalling the confrontation he had with his father months ago, a lowly peasant girl might be acceptable as a concubine, but dreaming of becoming the young mistress of the Shun family is nothing but a delusion. If you remain stubbornly deluded, don't blame me for taking action against her. Call it a delusion or stubbornness. Today, I only want to say one thing. She is the one I recognize as my wife. In this lifetime, if I marry, it will only be her, if she is to be my wife. Shun Juicy will have only one wife in this lifetime. If she is to be my concubine, Shun Juicy will have only one concubine. If she dies, I will not hesitate to end my life and follow her. Father, you are welcome to test this. Sui Sui, may our hearts be forever united, and may we grow old together. Shun Juicy will never let Ji Suaning down in this lifetime. At this thought, warmth filled his heart. He gently leaned down and kissed the forehead of the person sleeping soundly in his arms. Sui Sui, why are you waiting at the door again? Be careful not to catch a cold. Shun Juicy dismounted and spotted me by the mansion gate at a glance. Your hands are so cold. He took off his cloak and wrapped me up snugly, then directly took my hand and led me inside. Not that delicate. I shook my head with a laugh. Lingen sent word that his return to the academy, next time he's back, you, as his brother-in-law, can give him some pointers in martial arts." Shinjusi beamed with pride. "Why not? When it comes to martial arts, among all the young men in the capital, none can match your husband." "Shameless," I chided. "I've simmered some soup for you today. It's on the stove now. Guess what kind it is, and if you get it right, I'll reward you with a bowl." "Alright, let me guess what it is." The day before yesterday it was red bean and lily porridge. Yesterday it was snow fungus and lotus seed soup. So what could it be today? Shinjusi pretended to furrow his brows. Putting on a thoughtful expression, I watched the show from the side. "You only get one guess. If you get it wrong, no soup for you. How about 2 chances? After all, Sui Sui only knows how to make 2 kinds of soup, right?" Shinjusi teased me mischievously. "Fine, Shinjusi, you're actually making fun of me. No soup for you today." After all the effort I went through to learn how to make soup for him, he actually dares to mock me. "Don't say that, my dear. Didn't you make the soup for your husband to enjoy? If I don't drink it, who else would you give the porridge you worked so hard to make?" Before I could react, he scooped me up in his arms. "Let's go see the soup you made and check if it's burnt today." You're being sly again. You haven't even told me what kind of soup it is." "What soup?" He leaned in close to my ear, his warm breath brushing against my neck, making me blush instantly. I struggled, trying to break free from his embrace. "The name of this soup, naturally, is Sui Sui's brood soup, isn't it?" Yes. "Hurry up and put me down. We haven't even gone inside yet. Quickly put me down." He grinned, his eyes narrowing with delight. "It's been several months since we got married, and Sui Sui is still so shy." Though he teased me with his words, knowing how easily I blushed, he did eventually set me down. "I worked so hard to brew this soup for you, and not only is someone not grateful, but they also make fun of me like this. It's truly heartbreaking." The moment my feet touched the ground, I immediately distanced myself from him. This person always resorts to mischief whenever he can't win an argument with me, so I have to be on my guard. "Who says that man is ungrateful, after court?" He went all the way across half the city to buy something for the young lady who brewed the soup. Shinjusi crossed his arms, looking at my guarded expression, and said nonchalantly, "Guess what the gentleman bought, young lady. If you guess right, it's yours." Pretending not to care, I fiddled with the hairpin on my head and blurted out, "Horse hoof cake from the east side of the city." "Ah, you got it. Tardier, fresh horse hoof cake." Shinjusi magically produced a package of pastries from his robe. I waited in line for almost half an hour. The aroma of water chestnut cake wafted to my nose, and I couldn't resist picking up a piece to eat. "Look, Sui Sui. Your husband is so thoughtful. He knew you wanted water chestnut cake today. We really are so in sync, as if he's so great." Seeing his proud, beaming expression, I deliberately teased him. "But now I'm actually craving the candied hawthorns from the south of the city." "Candied hawthorns? Look what this is." He suddenly pulled out a candied hawthorn skewer from behind his back. I widened my eyes in shock. You're not spying on me, are you?" he said smugly. "Every snack you've eaten since you were young, which one wasn't secretly bought and given to you by me? I've long memorized all your favorites by heart. There's no need to spy on you." "Thank you, my dear husband." Taking advantage of his momentary distraction, I quietly leaned in and planted a kiss on his cheek with a soft smack. The once talkative young man was instantly rendered speechless, the tips of his ears flushing with a telltale red. The lingering glow of the setting sun bathed the two of them, freezing the moment into a beautiful scene, their hands clasped together in silent promise, a testament to their deep affection. "What are you looking at? You've sneaked off here to slack off again. Sure, look at our young master and his wife. They're truly a perfect match." Spring passed and autumn came. It had been a year since I married Juicy. Recalling Juice's fate in my previous life, I began to worry. What could I do to prevent the Shen family from arousing Xiao Yanheng's suspicion? If things follow the trajectory of my past life, Xiao Yanheng will ascend the throne in 3 years, and Juicy will meet his end. Only 4 years remain. But must this life be the same as the previous one? Xiao Yanheng married a new wife last month. I originally thought it would be Jiyu Nyaning, since the imperial decree in the previous life had appointed her as the crown princess. But in this life, the crown princess is Chen Luoluo. In the previous life, she was clearly a consort. Doesn't this prove that Juice's fate can also be changed? "Madam, the banquet in the Eastern Palace is about to begin. Shall we set off now?" I snapped out of my thoughts and rose to leave the mansion. Chen Luoluo was hosting the banquet in the name of the crown princess today. As the lady of the Shen family, even though I had countless grievances against her, I had no choice but to brace myself and attend. In my past life, She caused me to lose my child and my friends. In the end, she was sent off with a poisoned cup of wine by Xiao Yanheng. In this life, I only wish to have no further entanglements with her. It seems the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess are deeply in love. I notice that Sister Crown Princess looks even more radiant than before. Indeed, among all of us sisters, it's the Crown Princess who married the best. We're all so envious of her. As soon as I took my seat, I heard a flurry of compliments. I simply kept my eyes down and sipped my tea, calculating the days. Back then, my only friend in the Eastern Palace, Wang Ru, hadn't yet entered it. If I were to see her today and exchange a few words with her, I'd only hope she wouldn't jump into this fiery pit of the Eastern Palace. In my past life, she was tormented so badly by Chen Luoluo. She clearly had her own beloved, and she shouldn't have lost her life so early in the Eastern Palace. Thinking this, I lifted my gaze and scanned the room. I didn't see Wang Ru, but I did lock eyes with Ji Yunyanning. She snorted coldly and, without even looking up, walked away to another table. Other ladies, noticing her haughty demeanor, suddenly recalled the rumors about her and the Crown Prince, covering their mouths with handkerchiefs. They giggled. Just now, seeing Miss Ji Yu, I was reminded of how people used to say she and our Crown Prince were quite close, but looking at it now, she simply can't compare to the Crown Princess. It's merely the Crown Prince showing her some consideration out of respect for her father. There's no such thing as closeness or not, Chen Luoluo said, her smile fading. The lady, realizing she had flattered the wrong person, fell silent. Halfway through the banquet, I grew a bit bored sitting there and made up a random excuse to step outside for some fresh air. Once Miss Ji Yu enters the room, I'll call for you. She'll be unconscious from the drugged wine, completely at your mercy. The Crown Princess is honoring you by entrusting you with this task. Do it well, and you might gain a minister as a father-in-law. Fail, and you'd better weigh the consequences for your own head. My whole family serves the Crown Princess, and I will certainly complete the task. Please rest assured, Miss. Hey. All right, I reckon someone has already led her inside. You'd better hurry and get ready. I held my breath and listened, covering my mouth with my hand to avoid making a sound. Is Chen Luoluo trying to ruin Ji Yunyanning's reputation? How could she be so vicious? Watching the two figures gradually disappear into the distance, I finally dared to come out from behind the rockery. Who would have thought that taking a break for some fresh air would lead me to overhear such a sinister secret? I'm not sure if it's a stroke of luck or misfortune. My heart was pounding. From their conversation, it seems Ji Yunyanning has already fallen into the trap, and that man is probably about to go and violate her. In a little while, Chen Luoluo will surely catch them in the act by leading a group of ladies to appear outside the courtyard. It seems this banquet was nothing but a trap she set for Ji Yunyanning. Everyone is just a pawn in her game. What a malicious heart she has. Should I save her? In my past life, she stole my destined love, and I certainly resented her. But in this life, she hasn't harmed me. If I stand by and do nothing, wouldn't I become just like Chen Luoluo, Ji Yu Suaning? Did you come back for a second chance just to become a villain? I quickly made up my mind, but the two of them didn't specify which courtyard it was. The Eastern Palace is so vast. If I search bit by bit, I'm afraid it'll be too late. Yet, this concerns Ji Yunyanning, and I can't let the matter escalate. It's truly maddening. The sooner I find Ji Yunyanning, the safer it will be to move her elsewhere before that man enters the courtyard. If one were to scheme against someone, this courtyard must usually be deserted, and to make it convenient for Chen Luoluo to catch someone in the act, the courtyard should also be a must-pass route for enjoying flowers and scenery. I quickly racked my brain, drawing on my 4 years of memories from the Eastern Palace in my past life, and a plan began to form in my mind. I gritted my teeth and dashed toward Luo, my residence, praying all the way that my guess was correct. Breathing heavily, I found Luo, my residence, and indeed, there was not a trace of human presence around. I slipped quietly into the courtyard, where the main door was tightly shut. Fearing that the man might have already entered, I tiptoed to the door and listened for a while. The room was dead silent, but my own heart was pounding fiercely. Fortunately, the man hadn't come in yet. I hurriedly pushed open the door, and who else could it be lying unconscious on the bed but Ji Yunyanning? Wake up, Ji Yunyanning, can you hear me? After watching her for a long time with no response, I steeled myself and pinched her philtrum hard. Chen Luoluo is plotting against you. Wake up. Perhaps hearing the word plot, she slowly opened her eyes. That coward. No wonder I feel so weak all over. He actually set me up like this. Her expression suggested she was gritting her teeth, but due to the effects of the drug, her words carried a soft, weak tone. Can you still get up? I'm afraid some men might come into this room soon. Let me help you out first, and we'll talk later. I haven't been in here long. As soon as I opened the door, I knew something was wrong. I only inhaled a small amount of the drug, so I can hold on for a while. Hearing her say that put me at ease. Gritting my teeth, I let her lean her full weight on me, took a deep breath, and then stepped out the door, just 7 or 8 meters away from the courtyard gate. My legs gave way and I collapsed to my knees, dragging Jiyu Nyaning down with me. Fortunately, the area was overgrown with weeds, so neither of us got hurt. I feel like I've regained some strength. If you're too weak to go on, you should leave first. If that scoundrel shows up, you'll be in trouble along with me. I shook my head, about to speak, when I suddenly caught sight of the man emerging from the path. He glanced around furtively before slipping through the courtyard gate. Get down, he's here. I pressed Jiyu Nyaning down, and we hid together in the thicket of weeds. This can't go on. If he finds the room empty, he'll surely come out to search. Our hiding spot isn't exactly well concealed, but I can't just abandon her and run away alone. I gritted my teeth. Jiyu Nyaning, you must run with all your might later. What? Before she could react, as the man was about to step out of the house into the courtyard, I charged out abruptly. You little wench, still trying to run. Let's see where you think you can go after being drugged. He indeed mistook me for Jiyu Nyaning. Listening to the footsteps behind me, even though my body was exhausted, I dared not stop. Fortunately, I had lured this person over, giving Jiyu Nyaning enough time to escape. Run. Just run into the crowd and you'll be safe. Jiyu Suaning. Once you pass through this bamboo grove of the Eastern Palace, you'll be safe. I gritted my teeth to encourage myself, my lips already bitten until they bled, my palms deeply marked by my own nails, but I couldn't give up even the slightest chance of survival. I accidentally stepped on my skirt, stumbled forward, and fell to the ground, with the beast hot on my heels. Why aren't you running anymore, Miss Jiyu? Just give up quietly, Pa. I flung the mud I had hidden in my hand right into his eyes, then immediately scrambled to my feet and dashed forward. You bitch, I'll kill you. The man, enraged, snarled and lunged to grab me. Who? Caught off guard, I collided into a broad chest, gasping for breath in exhaustion. The first thing that caught my eye was the golden dragon embroidered on his robe. I clutched his sleeve tightly, as if seeing a savior. It was the first time I had ever longed so desperately for his presence. Xiao Yanheng, hurry. Falling Plum residence. My sister has been set up. My head tilted, and I lost consciousness. The usually stoic crown prince's pupils constricted, and he swept the girl in his arms up horizontally. You wretch, where do you think you're running? The crown prince. The beast's legs gave way, and he dropped to his knees. Xiao Yanheng glanced at him, then turned to order the guards behind him. Go check the Plum Blossom residence. As for him, cut off his legs first. Understood. No, please spare me, Your Highness, I'm innocent. No. When I opened my eyes again and saw the golden dragon pattern above, I knew I was in Xiao Yanheng's bedchamber. I breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed both Jiyu Nyaning and I were safe. Awake. It was clearly Xiao Yanheng's voice. I was taken aback. Only then realizing he had been sitting by the table the whole time, I forced an awkward smile and said, Thank you for your trouble, Your Highness. Is Miss Jiyu safe and sound? She's fine, resting in the side hall. Thank you, Your Highness, for stepping in to help, since I'm feeling a bit better now. I shall take my leave. I scrambled off the bed in a fluster, offered a hasty bow, and made to slip away. After all, the moment I saw him, I was reminded of the many years we spent as husband and wife in my past life, and it just felt awkward and uncomfortable. Anyway, with him looking after Jiyu Nyaning, nothing could go wrong. You are too kind, Lady Shen. Josha and I are the closest of brothers. This is simply my duty. However, he deliberately paused, then shifted the topic. I never expected that Miss Jiyu and you, Lady Shen, would hit it off so well and even started calling each other sisters. I abruptly halted my steps about to leave, my heart racing, yet I had to feign composure on the surface. Your Highness jests. Miss Jiyu is Josha's cousin, so it's only natural for us to address each other as sisters. I should go check on Miss Jiyu now. Farewell. In the past, I came across an ancient text that told of a daughter of the Yu family in Nanhang. One night, her temperament changed drastically, and even her relatives and friends could no longer recognize her. She claimed to be a daughter of the Zhong family, residing in Qinghe County, Xiangzhou. People at the time regarded it as a strange tale. The Yu family sent someone to investigate, only to find that everything matched perfectly. What was even more astonishing was that the Zhong family's daughter had passed away over a month earlier. Lady Shen, Xiao Yanheng rose from the table. The silver-threaded golden dragon on his robe shimmering with each step he took, he approached slowly, his expression dark and inscrutable. What do you think of this story? A story is just a story, it cannot become reality. I lowered my eyes, not daring to look at him even for a moment. Sway. Has no one ever told you that you never dare to look others in the eye when you lie? He suddenly curled his lips into a cold, mocking smile. Sway, you told Shinjusi about your return. So why did you keep it from me? You hid it from me so well. I truly thought he, Shinjusi, had changed his heart. If Sway had told me, the position of crown princess would be yours now. At some point, he had already walked to my side, though his eyes were smiling. Hearing those words sent a chill through my entire body. What did this mean? Had Xiao Yanheng also been reborn, or had my marriage in the previous life been orchestrated by him all along? Your Highness, do you know Ping'an? I steadied my mind and cautiously asked. Ping'an was the young prince entrusted to me by Consort Wang in my previous life. He frowned. What does that have to do with it? Safe is safe. First, a weight lifted from his heart, then a bitter taste spread in his mouth. He hadn't been reborn. Did that mean? You needn't be surprised. If I hadn't guessed today that you were still alive, I would have kept it to myself. But I, too, feel indignant. Where do I fall short compared to Shinjusi? How could your eyes see only him? If you hadn't caught a cold, an imperial decree would have been issued after the new year. After the new year, an imperial decree declared Jiyu Nyaning as the crown prince's consort, but she swore she would rather die than marry. So, as the timid and weak illegitimate daughter, I was like a puppet, forced to take her place and marry you. I thought back to my previous life when I was still alive. The imperial decree appointing the crown prince's consort had arrived at the Jiyu family. But in this life, Jiyu Suaning is dead, and the Jiyu family has not received any decree. A chill spread from the depths of my heart. I laughed loudly, cutting off his words. So what I thought was a coincidence, what I thought was helplessness, were all carefully orchestrated by this man before me. How foolish I was in my past life to think he was as pitiful as I was. I thought he loved Jiyu Nyaning, and I pitied him for being forced to marry me, unable to have the one he desired. Little did I know that the misery of Juicy and me was all his doing. Xiao Yanheng, today Jiyu Nyaning and I were set up like this. Will you punish Chen Luoluo for it? I suppose not, because as the crown prince, you still rely on the military support of the Chen family. If I become the crown princess, won't Chen Luoluo become a consort within a few months? Given her jealous nature, do you think she would subject me to all kinds of humiliation? You say you like me, so would you punish her for my sake? What's wrong? Why aren't you saying anything? Are you silently agreeing? Thinking of his indulgence toward Chen Luoluo in my past life, a surge of anger rose within me. He allowed Chen Luoluo to harm my unborn child. He demoted me from wife to concubine. The dignified crown princess was only granted the title of a consort after he ascended the throne. He believed others' false accusations and mercilessly sent me to the cold palace. But now he actually says he likes me. How ridiculous. You say you love me. So is this how you love me? Weren't you asking me why I like Shinjusi? I'll tell you clearly now. At least he wouldn't let anyone humiliate me because of what you call your art of balance. Xiao Yanheng, just consider me dead. Recalling my past life, I wiped away my tears with my hand. Just think that Jiyu Suaning died clean and gone. Later, when I woke up again, I was already on a carriage heading to the northern border. At that time, I had completely lost my composure in front of Xiao Yanheng. All I remember is stumbling out of the eastern palace in a daze. Waiting for Shinjusi to return from court, trembling all over, I told him everything that had happened that day. He held me tightly in his arms, remained silent for a long while, then stared at me and said, Sway, let's go to the northern frontier. The sky is high and the emperor is far away. His reach can't extend that far. No, we can't go to the northern frontier, at least not in the next few years. Remembering how in my past life the northern DI had launched a surprise attack on the frontier, and how Xiao Yanheng had taken the opportunity to send someone to harm Juicy, I became even more determined to keep Juicy away from the northern frontier. Now that I've torn all pretense of cordiality with Xiao Yanheng, he's even less likely to let Juicy go. Sway, the northern frontier is my second home. We'll be safe there. Back when I followed my father to the frontier, I always thought that one day I'd take you to experience the borderland scenery, the setting sun over the long river, the wild animals on the Gobi Desert, the endless snow-capped mountains, the vast stretches of yellow sand. It's a view the capital can't compare to. Sway, you're too tired. Get some sleep. Don't be afraid. I'm here with you. The gentle voice washed over my heart from beside my ear, and in my daze, I completely lost consciousness. 9. In the blink of an eye. I had already spent 3 years in the northern frontier. Living in the northern frontier all these years, I've been carefree and almost forgot all my worries. The people here are simple and honest, and the scenery beyond the border is even more vast and majestic. Immersed in it, my heart couldn't help but feel broadened. The tolling of the morning bell from the city tower and the white funeral banners hung on every household reminded me that this year should have been the day Xiao Yanheng ascended the throne. Then there wouldn't be much time left before the northern DI's surprise attack. I once advised Juicy to return the tiger tally and retreat to the mountains with me, but after witnessing several conflicts between our people and the outsiders in the northern border, seeing the bloodshed on the battlefield, and observing the people's admiration for Juicy, I buried those words deep in my heart. The northern border needed him, it was his responsibility. Sway, what are you spacing out for? I'm off to training, I'll be back in the afternoon to keep you company. Don't feel lonely on your own, okay? Juicy picked up his spear from the wall, turning to smile at me. Be careful, remember that dream I told you about? Got it, mere northern barbarians aren't worthy of taking my life. Sway. Just set your heart at ease. I grew anxious, shouting at his retreating figure. How many times have I told you, it's not just the northern barbarians. Over the years, fearing that Xiao Yanheng might plot against him, I turned the outcome of his previous life into dreams and told him about it, reminding him daily to be cautious. Yet, he always acted as if he feared nothing, which is truly frustrating. I shook my head and was about to stand up when suddenly everything went black, and I lost consciousness. Madam, you're awake. I opened my eyes in confusion, only to find myself in a carriage, facing an unfamiliar woman I didn't recognize. Who are you? What do you want? Madam, I am Xie, and the one driving outside is Shifeng. We have been sent by our master to serve you. We apologize for any inconvenience these days may bring. I narrowed my eyes. These were code names used by the Imperial Secret Guards. Are you Xiao Yanheng's people? Why did he kidnap me? Xie smiled faintly. My orders are only to protect you. Madam, I know nothing beyond that. Once you meet His Majesty, everything will become clear. Knowing that you might be unwilling, His Majesty specifically instructed before our departure to remind you to think of your family back in the capital. Shameless. Though furious, I knew it was unlikely I could escape from her grasp. I stopped looking at her and simply closed my eyes. To an outsider, it might seem like I was resting, but in reality, I was contemplating a way to escape. Why did Xiao Yanheng kidnap me? Was he using me as leverage to seize the opportunity to kill Juicy? Or perhaps, with the imminent war in the northern frontier, his plot to assassinate Juicy amidst the chaos was already in place? This kidnapping, was it simply because he believed Juicy was already a dead man? No matter which one it is, it would be extremely unfavorable for Juicy. My heart sank to the bottom. Juicy, I hope you are safe. If you are not, I will go down to accompany you. A tear slowly trickled from the corner of my eye. I suddenly understood Ji Yunyaning's choice of sacrificing herself for love in the previous life. It's a pity I haven't left Juicy with a child yet. 3 days later. Madam, I must trouble you for a while. The city checkpoint is under strict control, so you'll have to wear a veil. I sneered inwardly, thinking that perhaps Juicy had discovered my disappearance and ordered the city gates closed. Fortunately, the northern territory is vast. Even after driving the carriage for 3 days, she still hadn't left its jurisdiction. Unfortunately, she had drugged me with a muscle-relaxing powder, so even if I wanted to run, I couldn't. I could only hope that my luck would hold and that Juicy would be able to find me. Tell me, what's been going on lately? Why have the city gates been closed for no reason? I heard that our general's wife has gone missing, suspected to have been kidnapped by outsiders to threaten our general. Right now, the general is leading his troops to search the entire city. How despicable. Everyone knows the general cherishes his wife the most. Those damned barbarians. The general is doing all this for our sake. Xie stood to the side, listening to the discussions around her. Madam, perhaps you should go upstairs. I'll bring the food to your room later. Did your master say I'm a prisoner? I've been hiding and running around with you all this time. Can't I just sit down and have a meal in peace now? She fell silent, tacitly consenting to my actions. I slowly picked up my chopsticks, the paper ball in my sleeve feeling unusually hot. How on earth could I pass it to a trustworthy person right under their watchful eyes? I couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Even when I slept, Xie kept watch by my side, leaving me with no chance to contact anyone else. Waiter. What were those people at the table just now saying about someone's wife going missing? Ah, sir, You must be from out of town. A few days ago, our general's wife was kidnapped by the barbarians, and the general has been searching the entire city in a frenzy. Oh, barbarians. How can you be sure they're barbarians? Hey, all these years the general has been clashing with those barbarians for the sake of our northern border. Who else would have such a deep grudge against them besides him? I pricked up my ears to listen, my chopsticks held in mid-air for a long time. Sierra whispered a reminder. Madam, we need to hurry. I took the opportunity to slam my chopsticks down on the table with a sharp thwack. Who do you think you are, daring to remind me here? I'm not eating anymore, I've lost my appetite. I turned and headed upstairs. The entire hall fell silent instantly because of my outburst. The out-of-town guest, also wearing a veil hat, narrowed his eyes slightly and glanced through the curtain at the woman ascending the stairs. By night, the carriage had already traveled several miles beyond the northern border. As expected of the royal shadow guards, even the heavily guarded city gates couldn't stop them from finding a way through. Sierra, I lost my temper at the inn today. I apologize to you. Looking at Sierra, who was sitting across from me keeping watch, I sincerely apologized. She seemed taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, Madam need not take it to heart. We are of lowly status and not worthy of your apology. I opened my mouth, wanting to say something more, when the carriage suddenly jolted violently, and I lost my balance, tumbling to the floor. What's going on outside? Sierra helped me up and quickly lifted the carriage curtain. There seemed to be enemies ahead, and quite a number of them, Shifeng said, controlling the carriage with a grim expression. They appear to be Northern DI people. I strained to listen, but only caught a few words like Northern DI and many people. My heart sank again. How had we ended up crossing paths with the Northern DI? Damn Xiao Yanheng, if he hadn't kidnapped me, would I have run into so much trouble? I cursed him 1,000 times in my mind, praying desperately not to be captured by the Northern DI. If they caught me and didn't know my relationship with Juicy, that would be one thing. But if they found out, what if they used me to threaten him? You protect the lady, I'll draw their attention. As the Northern DI charged forward arrogantly, he steeled himself, leaped from the carriage, and plunged into the sea of Northern DI soldiers. With swift strikes, he took several heads, but the sheer number of enemies overwhelmed him. No matter how skilled his martial arts, he couldn't hold out against their swarm tactics. Soon, Shifeng was at a disadvantage, and the remaining Northern DI soldiers closed in on the carriage. Sierra quickly urged me to hold on tight, then grabbed the reins and urged the horses forward. The Northern DI chased after us recklessly, firing cold arrows from all sides. Suddenly, the horse let out a long whinny. An arrow had struck it. The horse went wild, galloping in all directions. I clung to the carriage window, my stomach churning violently. In a sudden jolt, I was thrown from the carriage, my body tumbling down a long slope. Madam, Sierra shouted, and to protect me, she quickly seized the moment and leaped from the carriage. After tumbling down a long slope, I was battered and bruised all over, lying on the ground for a long time without regaining my senses. Faintly, I saw Sierra running toward me, while the sound of the Northern DI people's footsteps echoed loudly on the slope. Shenjuice's wife, where do you think you can escape to? We'll take you back and sacrifice you first. The arrogant words rang out from the slope. I tightly covered my mouth and, taking advantage of the cover of darkness, curled my body into a ball, hoping to evade the eyes of the Northern DI people. Big brother, that woman must not have gone far after being thrown from the carriage. Who knows where she's hiding? Should I have the brothers split up and search? Sierra tightened her grip on the sword, quietly straightening up, waiting for someone to head down the slope so she could seize the chance to ambush them. Holding my breath, I could only silently pray for her success. You little bastard, your grandma is right here. A bold and disdainful voice rang out from the slope. I shuddered all over. It was Ji Yunyanning. What's the matter? Can't beat my man. So now you want to take it out on me? A bunch of losers. The Northern DI people were clearly provoked, daring to be so arrogant even at death's door. Tie her up and take her back. I'll have to skin her alive to teach her a lesson. On the slope, the rustling sounds of tying and binding soon faded into silence, covering my mouth. I dared not make a sound. Ji Yunyanning, she actually went this far for me. At the inn, I had intended to find someone who looked reliable to ask for help, but before I could pass the paper ball, Ji Yunyanning's voice reached my ears first. Even though she was wearing a veil, I could still recognize that it was her. So I decided to turn the situation to my advantage, pretending to scold Sierra to catch her attention, hoping she would recognize my voice and send a message to Juicy. She did recognize me, but judging by the current situation, She must have secretly followed me out of the city and did not inform Juicy. To my astonishment, she was willing to be captured by the Northern DI people just to save me. I had saved her before, and now she was risking her life to save me. I smiled bitterly, thinking how wonderful it would have been if we had been this close as sisters in our past life. Without the carriage to ward off the cold, the howling north wind carried a chill that cut to the bone. Struggling to get up, I felt as if all my internal organs had shifted, cold sweat beading on my forehead. By the time I managed to stand, my entire body was racked with pain and exhaustion. Madam, please endure a little longer. Once we cross the northern border, His Majesty will have someone waiting ahead to assist us. Sire, look at us, both injured and disabled, and Shifeng is nowhere to be seen. Besides, Jiyu Nyaning was captured by the Northern DI people while saving me. We must go back and rescue her immediately. How about we return to the northern border first? The northern border. I endured the excruciating pain, trying to negotiate with Sire and persuade her to return to the northern border with me. Unfortunately, before I could finish, Sire struck the back of my neck with her palm. I fainted once again. Before my eyes closed, I only caught a glimpse of her slightly guilty expression. Madam, I will personally escort you to His Majesty. My apologies. 10. The carriage moved slowly along the road, and I sat quietly inside, a mocking smile tugging at the corner of my lips as I watched Sire bustling about in the carriage. What kind of bewitching potion did Xiao Yanheng feed them? Such blind loyalty. That night, after she knocked me unconscious, she carried me on her back and walked for miles on foot. Fearing discovery by the Northern DI people again, she hid and dodged with me all the way, taking several days before we finally made it out of the northern border and contacted the guards Xiao Yanheng had stationed outside. Madam, I know you despise me, but His Majesty cares deeply for you. When we enter the palace later, I truly hope you will not defy him. Seeing that I had been ignoring her since waking up, she hesitated for a moment before finally speaking. Even the wife of a subject is not beyond your reach. How very attentive, I retorted coldly. Madam, during those days when we were fleeing in the northern borderlands, I lost contact with the men sent by His Majesty. They waited for several days, but I did not appear on the agreed date. Suspecting that we had met with misfortune, they followed the trail and discovered Shifeng's body, along with traces of the Northern DI people. They also found the wreckage of the carriage at the foot of the cliff and feared that you, madam, had met with disaster. She glanced up at me cautiously and continued, upon receiving the message, His Majesty coughed up blood and remains unconscious to this day. Even if you were to enter the palace now, I'm afraid His Majesty would be unable to rise from his bed to see you for some time. Do you think saying these things would make me soften my heart? I wish he would just die in bed, confined in the palace for several more days. I heard that Xiao Yanheng was unwell and resting in bed. I truly suspect it's due to kidney deficiency from overindulging in drugs after ascending the throne. He was never one to lose himself in love and desire. How could a single letter leave him bedridden? I wonder how Juicy and Jiyu Nyaning are doing. Hope that the war has not yet begun, and Xiao Yanheng hasn't had the chance to stab me in the back. These days in the palace have brought back memories of my past life trapped within these walls, and my heart has gradually calmed. At worst, I'll just die again, cross the Naihe Bridge with my JAS, and pray to be reborn into an ordinary family in the next life, living a simple and peaceful existence. Luanlong Hall, through layers of golden curtains, the man on the bed slowly opened his eyes. Geoda, what year is it now? Due to his prolonged coma, the man's voice was hoarse, yet it carried an air of natural authority. The eunuch guarding outside the bed was overjoyed. Your Majesty, you have finally awakened. It is currently the 5th year of the Zheng'an era. Lady Shen has been brought into the palace for many days now. Your Majesty, what do you think? The 5th year of Zheng'an. Xiao Yanheng suddenly let out a low, bitter laugh. I suppose she must have cursed me countless times in her heart by now. Forget it. Let us go see her. Yes, Your Majesty. His Majesty has arrived. Welcome, Your Majesty. Xiao Yanheng walked in from outside the hall, looking every bit the part. As the palace servants knelt in unison, only I remained seated on the couch, unmoving. Everyone, you may leave now. Sway. We stared at each other, neither of us speaking. Perhaps he couldn't hold back any longer and finally broke the silence. I hope you've been well. Thanks to you, I almost died. Perhaps he hadn't expected my sharp tongue, as he fell silent for a long while. Sway, would you be willing to listen to a story, without waiting for me to respond? He began telling it on his own. Once upon a time, there was a boy who fell in love with a little girl. To catch a glimpse of her, He found all sorts of excuses to visit her mansion every day. He eagerly looked forward to her growing up so he could marry her. If this is your Majesty's story, then I, as a married woman, must excuse myself. Seeing his deeply affectionate expression, I shuddered involuntarily. I truly couldn't fathom Xiao Yanheng's intentions any longer. Did he go through all the trouble of abducting me here just to tell me a story? Don't rush, there's more to come. Just be patient and wait. Xiao Yanheng smiled and continued to delve into his memories. Later, the little girl grew up, but unfortunately, she fell in love with someone else. The boy watched her laughing and playing with that other person, and couldn't help but feel his eyes redden. Eventually, he resorted to a despicable method to marry her. He suddenly stopped at this point. As if time had frozen, the hall fell into a terrifying silence, and then, my throat felt as if it were being squeezed, and I managed to force out the question with difficulty. And then, he failed to protect his little girl, letting her lose her child, her friends, and her life. He even killed the young man she loved, causing her to die so young. When the little girl died, she told him that in life and death, they would never meet again. He promised her. Tears streamed down like broken strings of pearls. This was clearly a memory from a past life. Xiao Yanheng, had he also returned? I heard my own trembling, broken voice. Since you promised, why didn't you keep your word? I'm sorry, Sui Sui. He didn't know before, he didn't know. He only just remembered recently. His eyes reddened as he stared directly at the girl who had died in his arms in his past life, now standing perfectly fine before him. But even though he had returned, in this life they still couldn't truly be together. He helplessly crouched down. In truth, he liked Sui Sui, and including this life, he had already liked her for 2 lifetimes. Yet Sui Sui never believed it. He could never win her heart. In their previous life, they were husband and wife, but whenever he held Sui Sui, he always felt that there was something between them. She had closed her heart off to him. So he really had returned too, I thought vaguely. I stood up and slowly walked over to his side. It was strange. But when it came to the Xiao Yanheng of the previous life, I found it hard to be completely cold-hearted. Perhaps there was still a bit of affection left, or perhaps the Jiyu Suaning and Xiao Yanheng of the previous life had maintained a superficial peace through countless lies and deceptions. It's all in the past, Xiao Yanheng. Let me go. Those were all things from the previous life. Taking a deep breath, I looked down at him and calmly stated the truth. Sui Sui. He suddenly looked up. His eyes filled with hope. We once pledged our love, worshipped heaven and earth together. In this lifetime, I won't kill Shinjusi. I'll make you empress. I won't let anyone humiliate you again. Whatever you like, I'll be there with you. Won't you stay? He grabbed the hem of my skirt, his eyes brimming with longing. Your Majesty, look. I extended my hand, slowly pointing toward the table. I love eating pig's trotters. In my past life, most of the pig's trotters in the palace ended up in my Fuan palace. But does your Majesty know why I like them so much? Before I entered the palace, I always thought this thing was too crude to be presentable. But Juicy loved it. He said men should eat large pieces of meat and drink wine in big gulps. He tried every possible way back then to get me to take a bite, but he never succeeded. Later, I married you, and Juicy went to the northern frontier. He died there eventually. And it was around that time I developed a liking for gnawing on pig trotters. Whenever I see them, I think of Juicy, and I remember how he leaned against my window with a grin, coaxing me to try a bite. Mentioning Juicy, a smile unconsciously spread across my face. It's not that I like pig trotters. I just like the young man who brought me pig trotters and all kinds of pastries. He could only be Shinjusi. Does your Majesty understand now? I bent down, looking directly into Xiao Yanheng's eyes, and gently moved his fingers one by one from the hem of my skirt. Understand what? It was the repressed and prolonged affection of a woman struggling desperately in the deep palace. In truth, the pork trotter was greasy and cloying. She had never found it delicious. Yet it was the only memory she could openly and justifiably speak of. The young emperor slowly rose to his feet. He was the sovereign of this dynasty. To lose his dignity before a woman once was enough. Besides, he had promised her, "You may leave, I will arrange a carriage for you." The northern DI have declared war on the northern frontier, and Shinjusi likely cannot come to fetch you himself now. I tensed up. In the past life, I will not take his life. Killing Shinjusi would only allow the Chen family to rise again. Eliminate the Chens, and the Wangs, Lis, and Zhaos will follow. I have been emperor for a lifetime. And only at the end did I understand that a true ruler should value the ability to employ and command others. With killing as the last resort, I will not kill him. My heart eased, and I pressed further. But the northern frontier is your majesty's territory. He fights and bleeds for you. Now that war has broken out, the northern frontiers forces are not sufficient. He guards the northern border for me, so it is only right that I support him. I will send 50,000 troops to the northern frontier. He will not die. As for Jiyu Nyaning, I have also sent people to search for her. Yes, she is a bit spoiled, but she is not a bad person at heart. Now I owe her. After I finished speaking, a heavy silence fell between the two of us. Do you have anything else to ask? After a long while, he softly spoke up. Lingen and Pingen, they, unable to let go, I seized the moment to ask further. Lingen was the top scholar in the 9th year of the Zhang'an era. The Jiyu family flourished under his leadership. Huayu, Juice's son, was adopted into his family and became Pingen's closest brother and most trusted general. Pingen inherited the throne. He was raised well by Ling'an and became an emperor even better than I was. Good, good, that puts my mind at ease. As long as they are doing well there, I can rest assured. Ling'an said he would come back as the top scholar. Huayu became a general like his father, and Pingen lived up to his name. This is one of the few comforts I have from my past life. Chen Luoluo became the official consort, which must have altered some fate. The Wang Ru sisters never entered the palace, and I heard they married happily. That's for the best. Even if we never meet in this life, knowing they are content is enough. In my past life, I owed Qinghe a life. Find her a good position in service on my behalf. After much thought, only Qinghe comes to mind. In my past life, she came to my side the year Juicy died. She stayed with me for 5 years, later taking the blame for me, and in the end, all she received was a simple coffin. Okay, Your Majesty's righteousness, I, your humble subject's wife. Thank you on behalf of my husband and the people of the northern frontier. With all my strength, I shouted these words, then knelt and bowed deeply in a grand salute. Xiao Yanheng, I no longer wish to blame anyone. Only hoping that we may each find peace from now on. May we never meet again. Xiao Yanheng opened his mouth. He really wanted to ask her, to ask if she had nothing to say to him. But as the words reached his lips, he gave up. He watched her figure slowly step over the high threshold, just like in his previous life. When he secretly followed her retreating back with his gaze when no one was paying attention, the palace attendants outside the hall, having received the order, led her out of the palace. Xiao Yanheng stood dazed inside the hall, his ears faintly recalling the words of that Southern Ocean monk from his past life. If your majesty would grant this humble monk a temple and permit me to preach the scriptures, I would be willing to ease your majesty's worries. Master, you jest. As the son of heaven, what worries could I possibly have? Are you not interested in transcending life and death, and restoring flesh to bones? The emperor on the high throne straightened up at some point. After a long while, he said, I can grant you 100 imperial temples. The monk wore a compassionate expression, as if sympathizing with the emperor who stood so high above. What is your wish, your majesty? What did he say at that time? Yes. Xiao Yanghan closed his eyes. He remembered, he said, he only wished for his old friend to be safe and sound in the next life. With every ear of grain symbolizing peace year after year, so he exhausted the dragon's aura of 3 lifetimes, just so his little girl could be reborn. Since it was a promise he made with his own words, he would ensure that in this life, she would have peace year after year, much joy, and lasting tranquility, even if they never meet again. 11. As I set out on my journey back to the northern frontier, my thoughts were consumed by the war. Leaving no room to dwell on the disputes with Xiao Yanheng, along the way, I heard that Juicy had been driving the northern DI forces into retreat, forcing their generals to take refuge inside the city and refuse to engage in battle. They also said that Juicy led his men to shout provocations beneath the city walls every day, threatening them to release me. This fool can't even find the right place to look for his missing wife. Entering the main city, I rushed back to the mansion without stopping. The steward was so excited to see me that he nearly dropped to his knees. My lady, you've finally returned. Everyone was saying you'd been captured by the northern DI. Thank heavens you're back. The general has been fighting like a madman these past few days. He's probably still on the battlefield now. Before he could finish, I ran to the stable, grabbed a horse, and galloped toward the city gates. I must see him once, to let him know I am safe, and most importantly, I want to know if he is injured. Bumping along in the snow, I faintly see the city defense gate ahead. A group of soldiers are stationed there. Coward, if you don't release my wife, I will immediately order an attack on the city gate. Shinjusi, how dare you? Look who this is. A burly man with a full beard appeared on the city gate, holding a knife to a woman's throat. Shinjusi, take a good look. Isn't this your wife? if you dare to breach the city. I'll sacrifice her with this blade first. Ha 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 ha. He laughed wildly up at the sky. He had ordered his men to search for portraits of Shunjusi's delicate wife, and this woman looked very much like her. Who else could she be? Besides, the woman had admitted it herself. Rumor had it she was the apple of Shunjusi's eye. With her in his grasp, he'd see what choice Shunjusi would make. The city gate was too high, making it hard to see clearly. Shunjusi, mounted on his horse, nearly crushed the long blade in his hand. Shunjusi, sway sway. A familiar voice echoed in his ears. Shunjusi turned around in pleasant surprise and immediately spotted Jiyu Suaning rushing toward him from a distance. Sway sway, am I dreaming? It's not a dream, Shunjusi, I'm back. And not just me, 50,000 troops have returned with me. Are you happy? I tightened the reins, my horse circling in place. Before me was the man I had longed for countless days. I couldn't help but laugh. We were both alive, and that was truly wonderful. Happy, so happy. Sway sway, I'm sorry, I came too late and made you suffer. Seeing him so flustered, I stepped forward to comfort him. I understand, you're a general, protecting the people must always come first. Hey, what are you doing down there? Your wife is still in my hands, and you're already busy hugging and holding another woman. The burly man with a full beard shouted down with a booming voice. Then leaned close to the captive woman's ear and whispered sarcastically, Madam, you're in a life or death situation, and your husband is hugging and holding another woman. I truly feel heartbroken for you. The woman gave a bitter smile, her eyes swirling with emotions no one else could understand. Hearing this, I turned around curiously to look up at the city gate opposite and froze in place. Jiyu Nyaning, what? When did she arrive at the northern border? I grew anxious. She was captured by the northern DI because she tried to save me. We can't just abandon her. Damn it. So this was the northern DI's plan all along. They intended to use me to pressure Shunjusi. But who would have guessed that Jiyu Nyaning, who resembles me, ended up being taken in my place? The northern DI are already out of supplies and exhausted. Release her, and I will spare your life. As long as you are willing to surrender and sign a treaty with our dynasty, I will let all of you live. From any perspective, Jiyu Nyaning was also his kin. He could not disregard her life or death. Surrender. Do you think I would surrender? The northern DI have no cowards. If you want me to release her, you can exchange her for food supplies. Moreover, you must withdraw your troops 5 miles and refrain from attacking for 7 days. After 7 days, I will release this woman. General, you must not agree. That villain is stalling for time. Once the enemy reinforcements arrive, it will be difficult for us to launch an attack. The deputy general beside Juicy urgently tried to dissuade him. My heart sank. But our dynasty's 50,000 soldiers are already on their way to the northern border. The deputy general sighed. Madam, you are unaware, if we proceed this way, the casualties we would suffer to achieve victory would be devastating, and it would needlessly cost the lives of many of our brothers. I fell silent. Jiyu Nyanning's life is a life. And the soldiers' lives are lives too. Whichever choice is made, it's a dilemma. Let me go instead. Juicy raised his head, breaking the heavy silence. No, he'll kill you. You're the commander. Both the deputy and I spoke up in refusal. By all rights, it should be me. Sway sway, she's my cousin. And she was taken because of you. I can't just stand by. Shunjusi stared into my eyes. Sway sway, listen to me. I promise I'll come back alive. Shunjusi. He turned away resolutely and ordered his deputy, once Jiyu Nyanning is rescued, launch the attack on the city. General, you must not. That would put you in grave danger. As long as you attack swiftly, I will be safe. I know my limits and can protect myself well enough. Taking a woman hostage is no act of a true hero. Her, release her, and I'll exchange myself for her instead. Even in such a perilous situation, he maintained his carefree demeanor. Though his words betrayed the most sincere and fervent intentions of his heart, the burly man hesitated. What if you run away halfway? You know martial arts. I'm not at ease. I'll tie myself up. If you're still not reassured, you can have someone tie me up personally when we exchange hostages. All right. The general was clad in hard armor, yet his face bloomed with the purest smile. Tuyi agreed readily this time. Little lady, your husband is quite loyal, no matter what tricks he plays. Once he falls into my hands, I'll make him regret it. He is not my husband. What? Jiyu Nyanning murmured softly under her breath, but Tuyi paid no mind. Whether he is or not, he's bound to face misfortune once he's in my grasp. Jiyu Nyanning curled the corner of her lips, then suddenly lifted her gaze to look across the way. The young general had already taken off his armor, his slender figure stark against the vast expanse of white snow. that was the man she loved. In their previous life, they had been husband and wife, and in this life, he was willing to risk his life to save her. That was enough. Goodbye. She took one last, longing glance into the distance, then resolutely plunged the knife at her throat into her artery. Are you out of your mind? Shocked by her suicidal action, Iha leaped to his feet. I followed the sound and saw a figure falling from the city gate. I screamed with all my heart. No. Time seemed to stand still as I watched her jump from the wall and then crash heavily into the snow, splattering a huge blossom of blood. Sister. I whipped the horse and charged forward recklessly, my vision blurred by layers of tears. I couldn't believe that Ji Nyaning was dead just like that. Perhaps no one expected the girl's resolute leap, when she was just moments away from being saved. Both those on the city walls and outside were stunned. Why, she could have lived, Iha murmured, staring at the blood-stained blade before him, his face full of disbelief. Attack the city, show no mercy. Shinjusi snapped back to reality, his eyes bloodshot as he mounted his warhorse and charged toward the city gates like a madman, followed by the high-spirited soldiers of the northern frontier. Ji Nyaning, wake up, I'll take you home. I don't remember how I ran to her side. My trembling hands pressing against the blood on her neck, as if that could keep her alive. Why can't I feel any pain? Am I about to die? Sway. She struggled to open her mouth, and with each movement, more and more blood flowed from her neck. Don't speak, I'll take you to find a doctor, just wait for me, with a choked voice. I tried my best to carry her on my back, just like that time in the Eastern Palace. No, let me speak, I won't make it, coming to the northern frontier this time. I never planned to return alive. Sway, I know you're Sway. Who else would risk their life to save me but you? She gasped for breath. Don't be afraid, in this lifetime, I won't fight you for our cousin. No, don't you like him? Get better, and fight for him with all your spirit. I nodded through my tears. I am Sway. Please get better quickly. Shouldn't you be angry that I kept it from you? She smiled weakly. Maybe you won't believe it, but I had a dream so vivid. In the dream, I took advantage of father's favoritism and made you marry the crown prince in my place, while I married cousin. But you had a terribly hard life. Actually, my life wasn't good either, and neither was Juice's. He wouldn't even touch me. Later, I got him drunk, and we had a child. Then the war broke out, this very war. Don't think I'm lying. Juicy died. I followed him in death. You don't know how much it hurt. Before I died, I wrote you a letter, begging you to take care of the child. I said I'd repay you as your ox or horse in the next life. I am not an honorable person, but I still believe in keeping my word. I knew there would be a battle today in my dream, so I secretly came to the northern border a few days ago. I wanted to tell my cousin, but I didn't expect to run into you being captured. Naturally, I had to fulfill my promise to protect you. Don't cry. Seeing how far my cousin went for me, I'm already very happy. Her voice gradually softened, and speaking became more and more difficult. Her eyes lit up. So, you too, then I can rest assured. She suddenly laughed with effort. Then I'll tell you a secret too. In the previous life, Juicy almost succeeded. He could have lived, but he was forced to part with you. That arrow. In the previous life, he deliberately didn't dodge it. Without you, he couldn't go on living. So, in this life, I won't compete with you. I want him to live a long life, in this life. I'm here to atone for my sins. Sway, don't cry. You should be smiling. I was stunned, and suddenly, Juice's words from the past echoed in my ears. My life is in my own hands. Unless I don't want it, no one can take it away. So what he said was actually true. It was because of me, in the previous life. He died young. Ji Nyaning's breathing grew fainter and fainter, remembering the final outcome of everyone in the previous life. A wave of sorrow washed over me. Leaving me utterly helpless, I sat numbly in the snow, Ji Nyaning already sleeping peacefully on my lap. In my previous life, I had sent my mother off like this. In this life, I watched helplessly as Ji Nyaning died before my eyes. So she had been reborn too, but why couldn't she escape the fate of death? In truth, she didn't have to die. The wind howled, carrying fine sand as I carefully held Ji Nyaning in my arms, faintly. The sound of marching troops echoed in my ears. 50,000 soldiers had arrived, along with the warriors of the northern frontier. The gates of the northern Di city crumbled and fell. The northern frontier was reborn, yet some have closed their eyes forever. Sway. I looked up in confusion as Shinjusi, victorious, rushed toward me. He embraced me without a word, and I stared blankly at the sky, where the sun hung crimson, a symbol of newfound hope. I think everything will pass. I held him tightly,